Welcome, you beautiful people, party people, and welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You were gathered with us this fine Saturday morning, where we are going to tell you about who performed best this week in the world of professional wrestling television. This is the Winner's Circle.
That was quite the intro this morning. Yeah.
I mustered as much energy as I could.
We are here as always on Saturday morning, bright and early, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 or 10 a.m. Eastern. We are going to review Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Dynamite from this week before. Grade each show, and the show with the highest grade will be your winner for this week. So we're still
Bright
waiting.
and early. I mean, looking outside, it's not that bright, but it is certainly early.
Yeah, and it's 9 o'clock on your end. It's only 7 over here, so
Mm.
it's very early over here. Yeah. There's still a little mist in the air. If you're new to Workhorse Wrestling Network, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button on this video. It helps a lot. Hit that bell. You'll be notified every time we put something up on the YouTube channel. If you're with us on Twitch, give us a follow over there. Unfortunately, we can't see your comments on Twitch over here at the YouTube or on Restream. So if you want to comment or interact with us, which we'd love to hear from you, come on over to the YouTube channel and let us know what you think about this week's shows, whether it's Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, TNA. We'll talk about anything you actually put up in the chat, even if it's off topic. But join us over here. We love to hear from you guys. Interacting with you is our favorite thing to do.
We know a
So,
thing or two about being off topic.
well, there is that. There is that. There is that. We're in the middle of NFL draft week this week. Hope you joined us for our live draft show on Thursday night. If you didn't, go back and check that out. You can always see that on the YouTube channel. So I guess without further ado, we can crack into Monday Night Raw. Since you're here and that's your show and I'm here, we can talk about it until Nikki gets here. I'm assuming she shall
So
be here anytime.
we kicked off Raw with John Cena.
Ron Chena.
And I thought this was great. Like, he made the ring announcer repeat his entrance, except
Yes.
adding the line, the last real champion in WWE history.
Yep.
Um, the fans started chanting that they were sorry, but he played it off like they were saying, "We're not sorry." To, like, good crowd work from John Cena. Like, I certainly feel sorry. I'm sorry, John. You deserve better from us.
On Friday, everyone wanted to bully me. Now that I have some gold, the people want to cheer me. You're definitely. I mean, we talked a little bit about this before we went live. You're definitely more into this than I am. I mean,
Uh,
I to a certain extent, I guess I understand the storytelling and the reasoning behind why John Cena ultimately was the creative decision to go over Cody Rhodes and win the title. I don't know. From the minute that it happened, from the minute that not from the minute that he kicked Cody Rhodes in the junk, because I thought that came off okay. But from the minute that he started talking on the Raw or the next show, or whenever he started talking, I don't remember what. I think it was the Raw after Elimination Chamber, because I don't think he actually said anything that night. But the Raw after Elimination Chamber, as soon as he started talking about why, I was done. I'm done. Like this, I'm not interested in whiny ass Cena. You don't look comfortable doing this. It doesn't come off right. And I still feel like when he talks, especially, it doesn't. He doesn't look comfortable. I think he looked a little more comfortable this Monday night. It feels like maybe he's kind of growing into it a little bit, but
Yeah.
at the same time, he doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel right for John Cena. And I'm disappointed that he's champion, mostly because I don't need it at this point in time. I just don't need it. Like, I'm not a big fan of Cody Rhodes, but at least it makes sense that Cody Rhodes is champion. He's an active wrestler, I guess maybe in the prime of his career, depending on where you define prime. And, so it is what it is. I mean, they see him as a mega superstar, so that's fine. John Cena just
I
doesn't, at this
mean,
point, doesn't need to be champion.
I,
So
I
that's
mean, let's say you got Tom Brady out there, and like you ask Brady, "Hey, we're gonna switch you over to receiver." Like it's gonna take him a few weeks to adapt before he gets into the swing of things.
and who in
Well,
this who is John Cena the Tom Brady that's moving from face to heel? Is that the transition you're discussing here?
Yeah.
Because it isn't the first time he's been a heel in his career. I mean, the first time he was a
You talking
heel, he was
about Thugonomics?
yeah, yeah, and he felt much more comfortable. That felt natural to me for him. Like that seemed kind of in his pocket, but this doesn't.
To be fair, that was like 21 years ago.
and
Well,
more so, I've discovered that when you're young, you got that dog in you. You got that. I got chip on my shoulder, so heels will come easily. Once you have the luxuries of life and things aren't as hard, it's hard. It's hard to be like, oh, I hate y'all when life is so good. Unless you have a goal, or you have a what you call it, you gotta persevere through something. But if you don't have nothing to persevere against, no, I want to be a baby face. Y'all go ahead and cheer me. I don't care. But you not down with the whole emotional relationship thing, AOW? You don't care? You haven't tried to break up with us.
yeah, I just feel like it feels disingenuous. It doesn't feel like he's like it's real coming from him, so it doesn't hit with me. I feel like I don't know, but I guess we'll see what it is. The other part, the other
The
I'm just
SmackDown promo, if you watch that, it feels like he's getting into the groove of it.
Okay.
the other part of this is, and I get it, like Ric Flair and some of your
Woo.
other people, your other legends don't necessarily have the greatest
Uh,
track record. And I guess in the scheme of things, John Cena's got a little bit fewer skeletons in his closet. So I guess maybe it makes sense to have him be your all-time, title holder. But for me personally, like, and I was a big Cena fan for a long time, but as I look back on it now, he doesn't. I don't think John Cena's the right person to be the all-time WWF title holder like that, the most times holder. I just don't. I don't know. He's not the great. That puts him, and I know Michael Cole says it every fucking week, that puts him in a category that I don't think he belongs in, which is conversation of best of all time, or GOAT, or however you want to call it. And I don't necessarily think he belongs there. There's
all right.
levels to this, and he's a solid superstar, and he's had his moment, but I don't think that he belongs on any. I don't think he's not on my Mount Rushmore, that's for sure. I don't think
I
he's
mean,
on most people's. And I don't, not even for WWE, let alone wrestling. So I don't know. To have him be now the all-time
if
most
we're doing
WWE
all time,
champion.
then it becomes contentious. But like if we're saying 2005, 2015, if we're saying, at um, a ruthless aggression era and the PG era, like he is the GOAT. He
No,
is on the
no,
Mount Rushmore
no,
of that
no.
era.
What we're not gonna do is
There's
of
a
that
lot of people
era.
that probably.
No. We're talking about greatest of all time, and no, he is not. Because no, I
He,
hate Michael Cole when he says that crap. Because okay, let's talk about it real quick.
he's the go heathen, okay? He's the greatest of his era.
I
No,
don't think
that's
that's
not
true.
fake. That's
Looking
not
back on it, I'm
fake.
not even sure that's true.
But what was I gonna say?
Well,
The
I
main
mean, I would disagree just because I think it's Randy Orton.
well, you're from St. Louis. That's your right and your objective. But honestly, half of the WWE where it's like we need him, we want him to be the GOAT for whatever reason. Not sure what reason. Maybe it's the reasons you say that he's squeaky clean, a little more squeaky clean than others. But even though he has this title, as many times they can say it, in the fans' mind, it's no. Like, like I don't care how many times WWE says it, and I'm not sure why they keep saying it. It's still no. Greatest of all time. No, just no. He's not. And so I honestly just died. I just tune that stuff out. It's like, okay, y'all keep saying it. Okay, he has a record, but since y'all want to break kayfabe so much, it's a record that y'all are in control of. So it's not like he has to go to a tournament of randomness, and we don't know who's gonna win. We know who's gonna win. So no offense, but yeah, you're saying this has no clout to me. It doesn't. And WE saying stuff has no clout to me for a couple of years. So to that note, whatever. But for this title reign, it's a tale of two stories. Where even though you think he's looking uncomfortable, I think him, like Sammy said, on SmackDown, on Raw, he on the mic, he's finding his groove. If you have not seen the promo with him and Randy, it's half old friends coming back together and trying to pop each other, half building a good feud for less than a month, right? And so on the mic, I'm actually enjoying Heel Cena with the whole I'm going to ruin wrestling. I'm going to what you call the announcer, you're not doing it right. Say all of it. Reigning, basically the Paul Heyman version of reigning, defending, undisputed heavyweight champion. But in the ring, you're so slow. And all of these matches coming up are going to be so slow. And so it's like, can he be a champion where someone wrestles for him? Because then we'll have a perfect storyline up until December. But my concern is in the ring. It's going to be slow as hell.
Who all do you think he's going to wrestle still? Like, we know it's going to be Orton. I'm about to get to that on Raw. And I believe after it's going to be Punk. But who's after Punk?
This is Cena's retirement tour. So this is all of Cena's greatest hits, and someone they hopefully, because WE is hit or miss, more so miss about someone carrying the torch, someone actually being the winner of a long reign to actually help them out. But yeah, this is definitely this is a Cena retirement tour. So if you're a Cena fan, you want him to play the hits. So that's Randy Orton, that's CM Punk. That's Roman Reigns, and then like I said, who's gonna beat him to carry the torch for wrestling? They say Cody Rhodes. I don't want it to be. I'm like fine, whatever.
There's a couple more guys too. I think could be in the mix.
Who?
Well, there is the Miz.
See, no. Okay, keep going.
There's AJ Styles.
That one's probably gonna be his best match of this retirement tour. Keep going. Or that's it.
I mean, I didn't think of more than those two.
So those two, I totally agree with it. And Miz should be a TV show. AJ Styles can be in Australia. But what Cena said, we have 28 more dates. So there's gonna be some talking, and that's gonna be some appearances on Premier Live events. But like you said, AJ is probably gonna be his best match. But besides that, these are all gonna be slow as hell matches, bro.
What fucking year is it? This is literally the conversation we're having right now in 2025 and surrounding the World Championship. Who 50-year-old John Cena is gonna wrestle other 50-year-old guys along the way? I'm done, dude. I'm so irritated. I'm done.
He's on his retirement tour, and I'm here for it.
Here's the thing. This is Ric Flair's fault. This is Ric Flair's and HBK's fault. So back in 2007, 2008, when he was retiring, and he should stay retired, that was a storybook ending. Even for a 60-year-old Ric Flair, That was a storybook ending. You can't say that it wasn't, right? If he would just left, if it would just stay at WrestleMania, whatever was HBK, he would stay retired. Awesome ending. But old man can't stay away from the ring, and because of that, you kind of expect that from every great person. Even though I said John Cena,
that's Ric Flair.
you
Ric
do.
Flair is going to quit from his own. You don't.
Okay.
John Cena doesn't deserve the same treatment as Ric Flair. Like you said, I don't care how many championships you give him. I don't care what you kill him. You created him, and now you're shoving him down our throat. And I'm a former Cena fan. There are levels to this. Cena could never do what Ric Flair could do. Cena can't fucking lace Ric Flair's boots when it comes down to it, dude. There's nothing Cena's ever done on the mic or in the ring that comes anywhere close to Ric Flair. And the fact that he gets the same treatment is atrocious.
Okay. Listen. I agree with everything you're saying, but the levels of someone deserves a retirement match and a retirement story, Cena does fit the bill. He does deserve a good story and a good retirement match. I didn't think it was gonna be a whole year, but
that's the problem. It doesn't have to include the title. It doesn't have to be a year. It doesn't have to be 10 final matches. Give him one match and get him
it's not going to be a year. It's going to be, I think it's 25 dates left.
No, so it's not days, it's dates. So
yeah, 25 dates.
Raw, it was 28. That's SmackDown 27. So now we're at 26. 26 dates. But it's like, but even though I agree with you, the belt shouldn't be on them. What other story would there be for? Unfortunately, this is a situation that
him feuding with The Rock. That's literally the only other thing really to do with it.
I'm so convinced that once in a lifetime is going to be a third in a lifetime when this is done. I think that's his final match. I think that's going to be the final match.
You think The Rock's the one who takes the belt off of him?
I don't know how that works out. I'm not sure. I think something happens where they wrestle and then Cena vacates the belt, does something. Time is up and he leaves the belt or takes the belt or whatever, and they do some sort of tournament or something. I don't know. His final match is against The Rock. I don't know if The Rock wins the belt. That's his final match. I'm convinced. That's the way they told his storyline because he's going to end up turning on The Rock in the long run and go back to being a face. I believe that at some point. I think once he walks away, he'll be a face again.
So no. So I do think he'll be a face. I think it's going to happen in this last match. Even though Cena's in Hollywood, I do think he loves wrestling where he knows where he abides by the rules of wrestling. And the rules of wrestling is your last match you give someone else the rub. So I do I if I had to put a percentage on it, I strongly believe that him versus The Rock would not be his last match. And I'm not gonna say they're gonna do it.
Who is it then? I mean, none of the people we talked about need a rub. They're all 50 already. So who's it going to be?
I was assuming it was going to be Cody getting the rematch and winning the belt back right on John Cena's last date, the 26th date from there.
I mean, that's not you're passing the torch to someone who's already established junior. He's already probably got more days behind him than he has.
For us, he's established, yes, but. Well, I was gonna say, for us, he's established, but him passing to Cody is like, okay, you're gonna be the baby face for the kids. That will be the passing of the torch. You're gonna be baby face for the kids. You can't turn heel ever. Although we strongly advise that you do it at least one time, but you can't turn heel ever. You're gonna do all the Make-A-Wish, Make-A-Wish part. What do you call it? Make-A-Wish visitations.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah. You're gonna be there for the kids. You're gonna be the kids' hero. I'm passing it to you. That I think that's definitely what it is. In my personal opinion, I would have loved it for someone who would need it, an upcoming person. See, that's so like because WWE they don't do young and hot, and we don't have any young hot baby faces right now. Like in my brain, like Sammy like the answer should always be Sammy, but he's old, so it's like. But yeah, it's probably gonna be Cody. I'm taking it back. I'm saving wrestling. Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple young dudes, but I think they're all heels.
Exactly. There's no young baby faces right now.
Like, for real, I think all of them are heels.
They're not.
your story to end the way you want it to end, that means he has to continue to be a heel through the end of his run here. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to become a face again. By the time he leaves, he'll be a face again.
26 dates going to come up quick.
So,
Alright, so
we'll see how it all works out. But we should move on since we can talk about this forever and we got a lot of other stuff to do.
Well, I didn't even finish talking about it. Cena says for everybody to pull out their phones because they're going to see something historic, and said, what you're looking at here is the last world champion in WWE history. So take a good look. And then RKO out of nowhere.
no. Not RKO out of nowhere. Cena says, "Oh," and then RKO out of nowhere, which was hilarious. I love that.
Well, it wasn't out of nowhere for us at home because he was standing behind Cena. So we got to see that.
Right. So Backlash is in May 10th. That's 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. I think it's 3 weeks away. Yeah, 3 weeks away.
In St. Louis, Missouri.
Listen, watch the promo on SmackDown because it's hilarious. Like I said, it's a tale of two promos. Them trying to pop each other and then getting back to some serious business. I actually loved all of it. But in the ring, it's like I need so. Okay, the only advice I can give you that you can take: make it under 10 minutes. Don't do what you did on WrestleMania where it was like 10 minutes, hit and quit it. And that's it. Don't do over 10 minutes, please, and we'll be fine.
I said all I need to say about Cena.
Moving
on. Women's tag team championship match. The former champions got their rematch.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? Conversation, Sammy. Before we started rolling, you said WWE's in a groove. It's the best it's ever been. And then we have this shit. What are we doing? This is garbage right here. Just go ahead and tell the people what happened, and then I'll get
What I said before we started was I, at the moment, felt like I really liked Raw, and I hope that discussing Raw doesn't make me change my mind about it.
It won't. Keep going.
You said SmackDown was even better, probably the best show of the week. You said WWE is in its stride at the moment.
Yeah.
And you also, you did. Well, so don't just like, oh, Raw was okay. You're on the bandwagon at the moment.
Don't be like that. Just talk about what happened.
Liv Morgan pinned Valkyria after hitting Oblivion.
Do the whole. It was a tag team mismatch, and even though yes, Liv and Raquel won again, they did give Lyra a whole lot of offense on here, and then 4-time tag team champions Liv and Raquel. Sure. All right, continue.
So after the match, Becky Lynch helps Valkyria up. They hug, and then Becky gives her a clothesline and like 3-man handle slams. The crowd was chanting, "One more time, one more time, one more time."
All right. You go first.
I don't necessarily have a problem with Becky. Okay, so Becky comes back at WrestleMania. That's fine. All is fine. Whatever. They win the titles. And, it is what it is. I mean, the idea that Lyra Valkyria has 2 belts in WWE at the moment is okay, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. Becky Lynch, showed that she is who she is. She came back, looked really good at WrestleMania. They won the title. I was very happy that Raquel and Liv were no longer tag team champions. I don't like it when they give them the automatic rematch on the show after the pay-per-view that you lose your titles, but here we are. And now they put them back on Liv and Raquel, which I don't understand. I understand to a certain extent after you see Becky Lynch attack Lyra, But at the same time, I'm here for heel Becky. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with her attacking Lyra Valkyria. I just think it was awful quick, and I don't like putting the belts back on Liv and Raquel this fast. And I don't like putting them on them at all, but let alone this fast. Like, it feels like they could have teased this out a little longer. Lyra and Becky could have won here, maybe defended him a couple times. There could have been a little whatever. But, I don't know. I didn't think it came off the way they wanted it to until the very end when she attacked Lyra, and then that was fine. I mean, I thought that came out fine. And I'm here for heel Becky.
This was hella poppy. When I say hella poppy, this is definitely just for the pop. The pop, so WrestleMania. Oh,
And circumstance.
Yeah. I'll put you in your throat. Yeah, Becky comes back from WrestleMania. Pop. Becky turns heel. Pop. This is all for pops, right? We could have definitely. I don't know. Sorry, I just went up the stairs. I'm tired. In a perfect world, WrestleMania and the Raw after Mania is at least a week, right? Then I can okay, at least a week with the titles. Blah blah blah. Like I said, it was definitely just for the moment, and I don't know how I feel about the moment. I don't, because again, because no offense, but Becky, the whole Bayley got beat and Becky taking her place, that didn't sit well with me. So anything Becky does from here on out, I'm like, I don't care. Honestly, that's my feelings on Becky right now. It's because okay, everyone's like, oh, she's not making these decisions. Oh, it's not her fault, right? And sorry to revisit history, but SummerSlam 2022, and they kind of did this with Bianca. It's okay, Vince is in charge. It's his fault. Then we fast forward 2025. Oh, we're taking out Bayley to take her spot. Okay, it's not her fault because they just want her to have a pop. So I'll conclude with this. Becky got one more. They're saying it's Becky's fault and it's creative. They got one more time. They got one more. Becky had one more time for this to happen, and I'm like, okay, is it really their fault or yours? Because you can't tell me Becky, Miss I held out for a bigger paycheck, don't have the power to say yes or no to creative plans. So as of right now, okay, cool, and more so when it comes to Lyra, because again, I say Lyra got called up because she is Becky's protege. There is nothing. I'm sorry. She was not ready for this. But Becky said, hey, if you want me, you got to treat Lyra better. So, yeah. In my mind, Becky got one more time. Where I'm like, okay, Becky, are these really their decisions? Or are you just being dumb behind decisions? But going to this moment, Becky turning heel, fine. Hopefully it gives Lyra what she needs to get better. I don't care. That's my consensus to all this. I don't care about any of this.
Up next, New Day came out and they were about to cut a promo about winning the World Tag Team Championship, but they get interrupted by Alpha Academy. New Day agreed to a match for the titles, but I guess that no one checked their calendars because today it happened to be Rusev Day.
Rusev Day. Sorry, I went too fast. I got excited. Because no offense. Everything that happened before Rusev came out, there was no need for it. There is no need for it. They could have literally just had one dude in the middle of the ring that wants competition, and Rusev came out. But because it's the New Day champions, and I do like Otis, it's a little bit more important, but not that much. I just it's Rusev's back. That's all I care about. That's all I freaking care about.
Here's the thing. It feels like, which It's fine. Alpha Academy is what they are, but they definitely got fed here to Rusev. It makes Rusev
Oh,
look
yeah.
really strong. It makes Alpha Academy look terrible. New Day is what it is. They don't have to have the dumb match with Alpha Academy, which they shouldn't have had to have anyhow. I mean, they need warm bodies to defend those titles against, but I don't need to see them wrestle Alpha Academy. So, and Rusev is back. So overall, I thought the segment was good. It buries Alpha Academy, but it's only Alpha Academy. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's only Alpha.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
I mean, I like Otis, and I like Otis and Tozawa. I don't really care for Maxine, but I already know that they're not going to get any more from WWE. So, if they get it, I guess this is better than nothing, I suppose. I mean, I don't know.
I suppose.
Up next, we had match of the night. We had Io Sky defending her title against Stephanie Vaquer. Well, actually, I don't even think it was for the title. I think it was just an exhibition match.
Stephanie came out and said, I came to pay my respects. I want to fight the best. I want to fight you. And Smiling Io was like, how about right now? It's like, oh, shoot. We doing it. Let's go. And yeah, it was so much fun. It was so much freaking fun. And I'm so glad the crowd, yes, Raw after Mania, you can kind of trust the crowd, but you never know when it comes to new, not gonna say call us, but NXT people. But yeah, this was so much fun.
Raw and SmackDown people are not NXT people, so necessarily. I mean, I think a lot of people do watch both, but at the same time, I'm not sure that there's, I don't know how much crossover there is. And I think that this is an attempt to, people know Stephanie, but it's an attempt to get her on a bigger show and see how the fans respond and how they react. And they acted like they knew who she was, and they appreciated her. I thought the crowd was great for this match. I thought the match itself was phenomenal. I mean, Sammy said match tonight. I think I agree with that. So
side note. I'm glad that Stephanie doesn't know that much English, because when she does the thigh stomp and they're saying one more time, I don't think she understood. I'm glad you didn't, because no, y'all nasty. All y'all nasty. And so
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Some of the commentary on that move is a little over the top for me, but especially for a company that's still, in many respects, EG, whatever. I mean, you got a lot of kids around saying that
they like to walk that line on PG-13.
The first time I saw her do it, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not the first time I've ever seen that move. Obviously, she's not the first woman to do it. But
really,
when I saw her do it, I hadn't seen it in a while, and it was like, oh.
And usually when you saw it, they just did it the one time. They didn't multiple.
Her doing it 10, 12 times. It's like, ooh, okay.
Side note. It was a podcast, and they're talking about, the first time I saw it was Chris Sabin, and they chanted, "He is gay." I'm so glad now, 2025, they don't see it that way. I'm like, sir, no offense. The reason why they like it is because the person doing it has a big booty. Let's not act like we're involved with this move. It's because baby girl got back doing this move, and not a skinny white man that nobody wants to see between his socks. Okay.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Whether you are or you're not, there's a lot of testosterone in wrestling and amongst wrestling fans, and they're happy to see two hot women do that kind of stuff. They don't necessarily want to see two men do those things. So,
and to be fair, it's nowhere near as questionable as the way that Rhea Ripley pins her opponents.
Oh, there is that too. There is that as well. So, no, I thought this came off really well. And then we had some post-match extravaganzas. What happened post-match?
Roxanne Perez came down.
Boo!
And then Julia came down.
Boo!
And then Rhea Ripley came down.
Double boo! Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting on camera. All right.
I wish you wouldn't boo Julia.
Boo! I don't care. No.
Justify your boos, ma'am.
So this is why I boo, right? I was really enjoying this match. Even though people are like, I know people are like, I know how it's going to end. My mind didn't go to DQ. It really didn't. And then, And then you put in the people, Julia, Roxanne, and more so Rhea Ripley. I'm not sure how you would have done it, I'm not naive. I'm not sure how you would have done it, but I would have loved if Julia Rhea Ripley stare off would have happened someplace else. Honestly, if you would have just had Roxanne come in and end it because they had a match on NXT, fine. But yeah, that's why I booed, because I was really enjoying this match, and more so when Rhea Ripley came out, I'm like, in my brain, I'm not sure how they view all the women, like 100% down on that. So it's like in my brain, oh, you want to make sure this segment goes off without great. So let's add Rhea Ripley. It's like, no, you don't need to add Rhea Ripley. Io and Stephanie were doing fine on their own, honestly. But that's why I booed. Yeah, that's why. That's why I booed. I love all the women, but I just wanted the match to be finished. I did. Once you get involved, it's like, no, just give me a finish.
That's what I thought watching this. I thought, I feel bad for the NXT women's division because Roxanne, Julia, and Stephanie are all coming probably sooner than later. And I think this was to test that. I mean, this isn't the first time Roxanne's been up there, so it is what it is. But I think this is really to kind of gauge how the crowd responds to Stephanie, how they respond to Julia, being both foreign superstars. And I feel like the crowd responded very positive. How they interact with Rhea and Io, who are both main roster superstars, and I thought it all came off well. The chemistry felt good. So, they felt like they belonged. So, I feel bad for NXT. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I just think that none of them. I think the three of them their days on NXT are shorter than longer. So
no, I think out of all of them, Roxanne's coming up. Roxanne's probably going to be there next week. I think they're going to hold.
It's funny because she's probably the least of the three ready. Honestly,
yeah.
Like, really think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Roxanne Perez, but I mean, the reality is that Stephanie and Julia are considered two of the best women's wrestlers in the world at the moment. And
the other women have been wrestling since before Roxanne hit puberty.
And there you go. So that's not always whatever, but they are considered two of the best in the world, and I think Roxanne still has a ways to go before she's in that conversation. So,
to be fair, Roxanne's been wrestling for like 5 years.
Right. So that's not taking anything away from Roxanne Perez. She's taken.
Oh, she's called the Prodigy for a reason. Like, although
she's amazing.
Although she's only been wrestling for 5 years, like she has the talent that it seems like it's been more than that. Like, a lot of women have wrestled longer than 5 years and don't wrestle half as good as she does.
Yeah, or have the career she's had in her first 5 years ever, like in their long careers. Like, there are a lot of journeyman women that will never have anywhere close to the career that she's already had and the successes that she's already had just in NXT. So, or, the few times on the main roster. And it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. NXT's developmental. The goal is to move everybody up at some point. I get it. I just feel bad for the NXT women's roster.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of women in NXT.
Yeah.
Like,
they didn't feel bad. Like, they didn't look bad, but it's like, you didn't trust them enough to be by themselves. We need Rhea Ripley to make sure the segment goes off without a hitch. Like, you did it. Stephanie and Io were actually great by themselves.
Jordan Grace will still be in NXT. Trust me, they're in perfectly fine hands with Jordan Grace down there.
And I think Julia got 6 more months. Julia will be there for another 6 months, and then she'll get called up.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect Jordan Grace to hang out too long in NXT either.
Honestly, no. But after her, you got plenty of other women around. You got Sol Ruka, you got Kalani Jordan, you got
Jada Parker, who's coming into her own, man.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Up next, we had Jey Uso come out to celebrate being the World Heavyweight Champion. And he got joined by 2 of his 4 brothers. And we had chants of "You deserve it." We had hugs and secret handshakes and the whole 9 yards. And it felt nice, especially after how the last match ended. We had a real feel-good moment here.
Yeah. No. And then we had a video package from his whole career in WWE, and that tugged on the heartstrings more than anything. Him debuting, then with the face paint, then the Uso penitentiary, then the bloodline. It's like, oh man, stop! Like
WWE is
stop!
very good at manipulating your emotions, that's for
Mhm.
sure. And they
Don't do
definitely did
that.
Yeah.
that with the video package.
Well,
Here's the thing. I thought this was great. I absolutely loved this. Sammy coming out made perfect sense. Jimmy coming out made perfect sense. It all happened wonderful. It's a great feel-good moment. My only question is that the right decision? Is that really ultimately what we wanted, or should there have been a little something else on it? I don't know what that is, but
you can save that
something
for
to
next
make it a
week.
little more
That's how I
interesting.
feel.
No.
You can save it
So
for next week.
So all y'all missed that moment. I guess I didn't put my stank on it. Where after he hugged Sammy, and Jay goes up to the top rope, and Sammy looks up at him. It was a pause, like, like. I don't want it to happen, but it makes sense. We're definitely getting Sammy versus Jay.
I kind
We're
of
getting
felt
Sammy
that,
versus
but
Jay.
I was thinking that was just in my head. I didn't think that was
No.
real.
Thousands of people thinking the same thing. We are not wrong. We are not wrong. It wasn't just you. It
You
was,
think we're
it
getting
was, it
Sammy
was all of
versus
us.
Jay, huh? Interesting.
We're definitely
So
getting
you think
Sammy.
Sammy on Jay?
I don't know how they do it. In a perfect world, it's like, hey, we're friends. You know, I am a little salty that you wanted to tell before me, but I want the opportunity to compete against you. You can do that, but how many people are going to be into that? Not a lot. But the heel turn is all makes more impact than friendly competition. That's something we have to all accept. Even though we all want it to be all lovey-dovey in the spirit of wrestling, a good heel turn and blood feuds make more money than spirit of competition.
It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute since Sammy was a heel.
The question I
And
have is,
he was great at it too.
technically they're all whatever, but is there more meat on the bone with Jimmy turning on Jay and brother versus brother than there is versus Sammy turning on Jay?
That literally happened a year ago.
And we didn't like it.
I know.
We didn't like it. It was wrong. It was bad. We didn't. And it hurt because we love both of them. We actually care about these people. So like, no, don't do that.
I mean, I guess if you turn Sammy heel, you have a chance of having, well, I guess he's out for a while, but whenever KO comes back, potentially you have Sammy and KO versus the Usos at some point, I suppose.
Oh, you think? But like I said, the dynamic between Sammy and Jay are more in depth than Jimmy. Like the long ranging of trying to accept of Jay accepting Sammy into the group. Oh, the whole turning against the bloodline. Oh, it's like, oh, I never trusted you. It's so much to build up that feud than Jimmy and just saying, hey, I just want your title. Like I said, Sammy, like, oh, I couldn't beat Roman and I'm not champion, but you were champion before me. Without me bringing up the bloodline, you wouldn't probably be here. Like it's so much meat on that bone. It's so much delicious meat on that bone.
And honestly, it feels good to see. I mean, if that's where they're ultimately going, it feels good to me to see two guys that basically haven't really been booked that way to have an opportunity to have that main event stage and show that they can be there. So
so if I had to put a timestamp on it, I would say they do it at SummerSlam. Don't do it just yet. Do it at SummerSlam. That would be a great SummerSlam match for Jay.
All right. What was next?
So WWE was all like, hey, that was nice, right? Y'all feel good? Y'all feel good? That was a good moment, wasn't it? Well, let's just pull that rug right out from under you. Gunther comes out, tries to assault Michael Cole. Pat McAfee's like, and gives him a solid
forearm, yeah.
Yeah, forearm.
Just back up.
And security rushes out, and they're like, break it up, you two. And Pat McAfee's like, I don't even want to fight. He's the one who started this. And goes and turns around to walk away. And Gunther lunges at him, gets him in a rear naked choke, brings him down to the ground, and refuses to let go.
Listen, the setup to this was great. I love I think after 2000 WrestleMania 27, we would never see Michael Cole ever be in a wrestling hold, but him like, oh snap, you went against Michael, then oh snap, you went against, oh snap, you talking about Pat, and then Pat podcast friends jumping that barricade like they're freaking track stars. Like, stop! What's happening? And they're trying to hold him back. We're trying to get Gunther off of Pat. And just like, stop the madness! Stop the madness! I loved it. I loved it. And for the Gunther fans who are down about him losing his title, this is a feel good thing for you. You get your monster back that had to choke out Pat McAfee.
I just have a couple questions. Are they like good actors? Was security unaware? Were they unaware? Because like they jumped that barricade and security was like, "Oh, what the crap!"
No. I think like so.
Like they completely ignored Gunther doing the chokehold and when people jumped the barricade, which is what WWE would do in a real situation. So I'm like, you'll not tell them like what's going on.
if you've watched wrestling for a minute, unfortunately you have seen people jump the barricade into the ring, and it's really awkward. It's that awkward moment, like, oh, what the camera shifts to someone else, and it's like, what the freak happened? So the camera still being on this segment, I think, they definitely knew what was going on, even though it came off wonderfully. But yeah, you saw.
Well, I was wondering, like the security people, if they weren't told, because they completely ignored what was happening with Pat and Gunther to like stop these men.
So like even though it was more people over towards the men than Gunther, I think they did know, because again, if you see security people down, it's not pretty. It's not holding you back. They're putting the whole body on your body, and you might get hit in the face. So that's why I'm like, they knew. If this was real, it would be a whole entire different scenario where you got people got beat up basically, and they didn't get beat up. So I'm pretty sure they knew they were going to jump that barricade.
Yeah, I didn't like this. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum from the on this. I didn't like this. I mean, I don't necessarily think that it does what you think it does for Gunther. I think, honestly, it makes him look kind of like a crybaby and a big jerk as opposed to a monster. Like, he got beat and he can't handle it, so now I'm going to come pick on two people that really are, go pick on someone your own size. Like, it's Michael Cole, who never should be in this situation ever again. We've already seen how bad it's been in the past. The fact that they even consider doing this again shows the lack of creativity and continues to annoy me about the recycling and wrestling. And honestly, if this is leading to Pat McAfee versus Gunther in some way, I'm not here for that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not interested in that. Like, I don't need to see Pat McAfee in the ring wrestling Gunther or getting fed to Gunther in the ring, which is probably what ends up happening. So I don't need to see that. Keep the wrestlers in the rest with the wrestlers, keep the announcers at the announce table, and keep them separate from each other. You guys can do whatever you want, but they don't need to interact with each other. I'm not interested in any of this. I don't think it makes anybody look good.
I think for getting Pat at NXT, and Pat had some pretty awesome matches. Before he was a commentator, he was going to be a wrestler. He was trained to be a full-on wrestler. And him versus Adam Cole, one takeover, was actually pretty great. Him and the freaking
when was that? 2017? 2018, 2020,
2020, the panorama era. Don't do that. And then
5 years ago.
5 years don't feel like 5 years ago. I was. Were you with me? No. You were at the draft where after Jaguars picked, I'm like, hold up, wait. Has it been a year since? Because my brain switched to this where the elite tagged Tony Khan, and Tony Khan wore a neck brace to the draft, and I'm like, wait, was that a year ago? It did not feel like a year ago. Honestly, after the panorama, time's a construct. Years do not feel like years. But fast forward, and then he had the great match between Austin Theory. It gets clouded because a 78-year-old crackhead wants to have a match afterwards. But if you just cue it to Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee, that was a great match too. So I'm not saying it's going to be 5 stars between him and Gunther, but it will definitely be 3.25.
Really what you want? I mean, when you look at the landscape of WWE, you think, oh, I want Gunther versus Pat McAfee.
See, you're not a story person. You're not a story person. I'm a story person. They've been building the story up to where every time Jay does his yeet against Gunther keeps looking at Pat to say stop, and sometimes Pat stops. Sometimes Pat doesn't, and then he keeps provoking. And then before the match, he keeps going to commentary and says, well, "Hey, keep it up." But he warned him. He wanted to stop talking about him. So story wise, they built it up enough to have the match.
I like stories. It's just got to be a good story.
That's a good story.
It's not a good story. It was a story. Wrestling comes are a good story.
He's defending his friend, and real quick, Sammy go to the part where Michael Cole's in the back, and they check on Pat, and they're like, Michael Cole, you should leave.
Okay. I'm not going to let some bully get in the way of me doing my job.
And he gets a huge pop.
We know I'm a hater. We'll leave it at the fact that it's just not for me. How's that?
I like it.
It's just not for me. How about that?
Just a hater. Listen.
We can argue all day long about it, right? So I just, all my people, everyone knows I'm a hater, so it's all good. I mean, we have different opinions. It just wasn't for me. I just don't. It doesn't make any sense. And honestly, like when I sit down with a pen and paper, I'm Triple H, and I'm thinking, okay, Gunther just lost to Jey Uso. What do I do next with him? A match with Pat McAfee. That just to me doesn't. I don't see how that is like. Hey, that's on the top of the list. I don't see that. So, but I'm not creative. That's why I don't have that job. So, these guys have known more and learned more about wrestling than I'll ever know. So that's why I'm not, kind of creative.
I'm gonna give you these points. I'm gonna leave it alone. Who's gonna after WrestleMania? We have to rebuild Gunther this a little bit, right? As of right now, there's really no one that's not fitting with someone else that Gunther can go against. So, if at the least he's gonna get this win. He's gonna get this win. He's gonna choke Pat McAfee out. It's gonna be one notch in his belt to get him a little bit better. Get his aura back. At least that.
Otis beating an announcer that hasn't gotten in the ring in 5 years. Don't get your back. Like, does not for him. Think about it.
Let's be fair. Gunther just did what Bayley never got the opportunity to do. Bayley just getting all of her opportunities taken away from her.
Yeah, freaking it. Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be good, I promise.
Man. The other day I had to explain to someone online who Tony Khan is.
Interesting as hell.
It was a thing about Travis Hunter getting drafted, and so Tony Khan was on the phone with him, and they were like, "Who's this Khan dude, and why do all of you seem to hate him?" And I told him. So he's the personnel on the Jaguars who drafts everybody and signs free agents. And he also owns a wrestling company. And the person then asked, so is he like a born billionaire? And I said, if my information is correct, his father became a millionaire when he was like 10, and his father became a billionaire when he was like 25.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about Tony Khan like that. So,
but it's like we don't hate him because we don't hate him because he's a billionaire. We hate him because sometimes AEW sucks and because it's your fault. That's the reason why we hate him. That's the reason why we hate him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't hate him like that. Like, I hate the strong word, but like,
hate the strong word.
I mean, the reality is I don't have a lot of love for billionaires. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I'm not gonna go on to a video of him drafting Travis Hunter and being like Tony Khan sucks. Like,
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
dude, you just being a hater. You bringing a lot of
Just
negative
a
energy to
hater.
places that don't need to be.
Now, to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
fair, if you're a diehard Jack fan and you think Travis Hunter is the wrong pick, and you think Tony Khan sucks as a GM in a draft, that's a different situation. That
Well,
all
no,
that
no
stuff
one was
falls
hating
under
on
the radar.
Travis Hunter. Everybody was hype about Travis Hunter.
Hype as hell. That is definitely not the issue. That is definitely
That's right.
not the issue.
Great big
Like,
bet.
I mean, some
Tony
people are
Khan may
like,
suck.
man,
Like,
you traded a lot to move up 3 spots. You traded your second
Worth
and a
it.
future first, but it's
Worth it.
like also he plays
Worth
two
it.
positions. So he's kind of like getting 2 players for the price of one. So it seems pretty fair. Seems fair. Like if he didn't play 2 positions, then I'd be like, but he plays 2 positions, 2 players for the price of one. Like, yeah, okay,
He
okay.
worth it.
It's
He worth
it's,
it.
it's worth it because he plays 2 positions.
all right, let's bring it back to Raw. What was next on Raw?
Up next, we had the one, the only Dominic Mysterio.
No. Your new Intercontinental Champion, Dominic Mysterio.
And he
Talked
defended
about
his
this.
title against fellow Lucha Underground alumni, Penta.
I mean, we haven't really had a chance to discuss because we didn't do the cookout on Tuesday night to discuss WrestleMania really in any depth. So yeah, Dominic did come out of the Fatal 4-Way with the title, which I think was an interesting decision, and he kind of called it and thought that might happen. I didn't
I
really see that coming, but it
I
is
think
what
it's
it is.
good. I think it's time. I think he's a good wrestler. I dig it. Like
I'm not opposed to it at all. I'm not opposed to it at
he
all.
he he's come a long way since pulling out Johnny
2019.
Mundo's legs out from under him in Lucha Underground, then punching out a security guard and running away.
No,
It's come a
like
long way since then.
And he has hit his sweet spot. The dirty Dominic Mysterio, a slimy heel character, is absolutely brilliant and perfect. Like, I mean, he has the right kind of heel heat, and it's I mean, it's over. Like, that role is over. He's got that role over, and he's so. I mean, this is
Uh,
perfect. I thought this was fine. I mean,
you said it.
on
The right kind of heel heat. Because like people were
yeah.
arguing, I think this is go away heat. He can't even say any words. But like when he won that title, like people showed like they're in on it. They don't actually like hate him like that. They're in on the whole.
Right.
Yeah, we're
so,
supposed to boo this guy, so we're gonna boo this guy.
but no,
Yeah.
like
I mean, I don't. I still worry about, the crutch of the Judgment Day. JD McDonough's back, Finn Balor, whatever the case may be. But he did get
I
the
didn't
win.
get there. So Dominic won the match against Penta with the return of Big Head himself. Scrappy Doo has returned.
JD McDonough, y'all will stop that. But no, like I said, it's we know it's very rare when you catch a new star and actually watch the progression of his career. And crazy enough, we watched Dominic since he was a kid, and then we actually watched him as a wrestler with his dad, and then he kicks Rey Mysterio in the dick, and it's like, oh my god, here it comes! And him and Rhea was such a great like real life. That hurt my heart at SummerSlam when they broke up. I hate Liv for that. I will never forgive you. And it's like now he's a champion. It's like you really don't see the progression of he is solidified now. He is solidified, and we actually saw the solidification of it. And JD McDonough coming back, I love it. Crazy enough, I think we all like after the last match where he broke his lung and you still kept going, you psycho. there was a talk about him coming back and being a babyface, and I think none of us were opposed to that. It's like, yeah, like everybody was cheering him on, but like, oh, he just took a Judgment Day. Okay, cool. I don't hate it, but I'm like, did we explore all the options with JD? I guess yes or no, but this was a good match. This actually was a good match, and like you said, Sammy, he got so much better in the ring. If you would have said Dom versus Penta 2 years ago, it's like, ugh, why are we doing that to Penta? And now it's like, oh, this be fun, this be nice, and it was fun, it was nice.
I agree. It was fun. It was nice. It was a good defense. I assume at some point Penta, I don't know if he takes the title, but gets some sort of redemption at some point. But yeah, no, I'm here for this. I'm here for this. Dominic is in his bag at the moment, so I'm here for this. We'll see what happens with Braun Breaker. Well, we will talk about that here in a little bit, but we'll see what happens ultimately with that.
Up next, we had whoa. Seth freaking Rollins comes out, and he's about to cut a promo, but gets interrupted by.
Time out. Before the main event segment, we had an El Grande Americano segment that you must discuss. The reel of him winning at WrestleMania was brilliant. I loved it. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's one of the best things in WWE at the moment for me. I absolutely love the Chad Gable El Grande Americano stuff. So I thought this reel was perfect. I thought it was great. Old school style.
Some people are upset about it, but it's like we've actually done this quite a few times in wrestling. Like quite a few dudes have done this before.
And it's actually the most respectful. This is probably the most respectful time that we did it. Like I said, I was gonna say we have to walk a fine line. We gotta keep walking the fine line. But I am enjoying this. I'm not even gonna hold you. I am definitely enjoying this. Like I said, walk the fine. Just make sure you're on the line. If your foot goes out, put it back in. But I think we're doing so far so good with Grande Americano.
Some guys that have wrestled underneath a mask. You got Kurt Angle in his final feud. You got Hulk Hogan when he wasn't supposed to be on the show. Air quotations.
Yeah. Right.
You got Owen Hart, which was his last.
Blue Blazer.
All right, fast forward. Okay, and then we have Otis.
Hold on. I got one more. We also have Chris Benoit when he wrestled in Japan.
You never go down the right path. When I say stop, I need you to stop. I'm trying to say.
I'm talking about him in the 90s, not.
Same difference. But you can't pair Owen at his last match and Chris Benoit the same freaking thing, sir. Oh shoot!
All right, on to the main event segment. Sorry, I interrupted your mojo. Let's get it.
Okay, so. After Punk came out, Rollins then attacked him. And then Reigns came out, and Reigns got attacked by Braun Breaker. And then they both attacked both Punk and Reigns. And it ended with them all hugging and raising their hands in the air. And Rollins said, "That's my boy."
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Okay, give it to Anika.
Give it to me. I'm gonna put you.
She can explain it better than I can.
No, you're good. I just when I have a favorite, you don't be putting a stink on my favorites. But no, like you said, Seth really did. Well, Seth came out talking about I stole a best friend, I stole a wise man, and CM Punk was like, "Oh, enough of this crap. I'm gonna take my arms, I'm gonna beat your crap out of you." He looks over to Paul, but you never get to Paul because Seth beat you up. CM Punk, you've been getting beat up a lot, sir. I need you to come out of one of these. I need to call one of these brawls on top. That's just me. And so, yeah. So he said, Seth gets down. right? And then the clock, more so, what makes it so good, the clock of the show ending came. They had what you call it. They had the credits come out like, oh, we're at the end. But here comes Roman Reigns. I think everyone thought, oh, WrestleMania is over. We're gonna see this dude until SummerSlam. So him coming out at the end is like, oh shoot, he's actually gonna be here for this feud. That's nice. So unlike Punk, he actually beats up Seth. He actually Superman punches Paul Heyman, yes, get that revenge back, and then he goes for a spear, but a bigger spear cracks him in the back. Braun freaking Breaker, because sir, it feels like this dude don't know how to spear without breaking somebody, and then this is the new group, and I gotta tell you, I'm not opposed to it. Okay, let me be specific. I'm not opposed to Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman. Seth can kick rocks. I'm sorry. I haven't hit this stuff in a good long time. And him with Paul ain't the needle. But Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman has moved the freaking needle. Like I'm all here for that establishment. And so you can call. I think we all know how this is gonna go down. But call me when Braun turns on Seth. Because that's probably my most favorite anticipationness of this new alliance, because they gonna act like you can control Braun Breaker, and y'all stupid as hell because y'all think that. And when Braun Breaker lets loose and spear all y'all, it's gonna be phenomenal. It's gonna be famously beautiful. But yeah, all right.
I enjoyed it. I mean, they definitely have big plans for Braun Breaker. When he lost at WrestleMania, I thought, okay, let's see what they do with him. They didn't waste any time. They shoved him right into the main event picture.
I love
with
that.
Basically their biggest storyline at the moment. Well, one of their biggest storylines at the moment. I don't care for Punk or Roman. In fact, I actively dislike both of them. Seth, at the moment, I haven't been a big fan of the visionary character. I think for the last couple of years, he's kind of been whatever, but he's extremely talented. And not that Punk and Roman are, but there are things about Seth that I have been okay with in the past. I know he probably doesn't deserve it a little bit, or not a lot, because of some of the things he's done outside of wrestling. But I don't necessarily have a problem with him, and I was very happy to see at WrestleMania the kind of double turn with Paul, mostly because I didn't really care about the match, and I thought that made it interesting. That's a solid match. It was, you got three guys in theory that are, okay at what they do. One really good, one okay, and the other one, in my opinion, not very good. But you can decipher which one's which. But I was happy that Paul had the double turn. It made that match interesting for me. I'm kind of glad that it remains to still be kind of focused on Paul Heyman, because for me, he's the most interesting thing in it, until, of course, Braun Breaker came out. And so I'm excited to see him there. I think he adds new life to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not necessarily as hot on Braun Breaker as some other people are. But at the same time, I do like him, and I'm here for younger guys. I don't even know how old he is, but getting the younger guys in wrestling years, getting, TV time and moving away from some of these guys that have been here for a really long time, the Punks especially, and that are old already. So, I like it. And, Braun with Paul Heyman makes sense. He is the WWE wise man. So he's going to help Braun for sure. Where the story goes, I don't know. I don't know that I naturally see it going. You said everyone can see where the story's going. I'm not sure that I do. Sometimes I'm naive. Sometimes I'm blind. I don't necessarily think that I see it as Braun turning on Seth at some point. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. I'm not opposed to that. But I didn't necessarily think that right away. But we'll have to see what ends up happening. So I'm here for it. I think this was interesting. I thought this was, for the fact that we have a talking segment again as our main event. There's fighting and brawling, but let's say non-match segment as a main event. I thought this was fine.
Yeah. So when I say I know where it's going, I see Seth being Jey Uso for the title. Not sure when they're going to do it, but I think he's the one who beats Jey for the title. when they break up, it's gonna be a long behind time. It's not gonna be. This group's gonna be here for a minute. But I do see but is there's no way that you with certain groups you can tell they're lackeys. They're here because of helping hand. They see something in Braun and going and talking about earlier. And we're talking about there's no baby face young people. We do have a heel young person, and Braun Breaker is the future. And I'm glad they see something in him where they're like, all right, main event time, let's go. Because last year his title reign was kind of muddied, where they didn't know what to do with him. Like they were in Saudi and Goldberg was there. They're gonna face him against Gunther, but they thought Goldberg they had Goldberg, but they didn't have Goldberg, and it's like what are we doing? So his reign got a little muddied. So I am glad they were a fresh start for Braun Breaker, and like I said, he's the main reason why I'm so hyped for all of this, and I cannot wait to see him.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. ALW is here for the younger guys.
I think I would have rather have seen Braun Breaker maybe in. I don't necessarily know how you get there because their paths don't necessarily cross naturally. But if you're going to try to insert him in a main event situation or with the main event, I would have rather seen Gunther and Braun somehow. I don't know how that works out than Braun necessarily being inserted into this situation. Because I'm concerned. I know that he's not the title holder, and I know that the eyes are now focused on Jay. But what does that mean for Gunther? Like what? Again, we talked about this. Choking out Pat McAfee, in my opinion, doesn't really do anything. So what are you going to really do with him long term? If the long term story is Pat McAfee, whatever. But beyond that, like where do you actually see him going here in the future, and what's going to happen with him?
I see him getting moved in the draft when we have the draft.
Ooh, because I can see that. I can see that. SmackDown needs some people, so they don't wait. Okay, sorry, focus. Like you said, if you don't watch SmackDown from yesterday, watch it because I love it. I love it. As of right now, they got Jacob Fatu being unleashed. He might go against everybody. And when I say everybody, Drew, Damian Priest, rematch with LA Knight. I'm here for all of that. Gunther would be awesome. I'm trying to think. So more so with the titles, I'm glad. So John Cena's over there. I appreciate that because that is the SmackDown title.
I mean, honestly, Gunther versus Jacob Fatu, make that a whole behind feud and give it to me at SummerSlam. Shoot.
While you're playing, Gunther's not a baby face, but him versus John Cena, I would not be opposed to that. That's your win. Probably when they go overseas, but him versus John Cena would be tasty. And when I say him versus Pat, I see him versus Pat within 2 months in a hit and quit it. That isn't a long-term story. It's a hit and quit it, and that's it. But yeah, I like what you're saying, Sammy. Him on SmackDown could do wonders for him.
All right, give the show a grade.
B+.
B+. Sammy?
B+.
It's either a B+ or an A- for me. I mean, B+ because there wasn't a lot of wrestling, and
yes.
Yeah, I'm going C. I didn't like a lot of this show, so I didn't like the Gunther McAfee stuff. I didn't really care for, the stuff with the New Day was fine, but I'm not sure to what end. I didn't really care for Raquel and Liv winning the titles back. I was very disappointed in that. So I'm giving it a C. I thought it was a little down for me this week, but again, that's maybe it just isn't for me this week. Maybe what's going on just isn't whatever. So, all right. So we got. Sammy,
my phone is overheating.
Okay. Are you leaving us?
I might need to. I don't think the stream's going to keep me in.
All right. Well,
Ride
thanks
till the
for
wheels
being here
fall.
for Raw.
No, ride till the wheels fall off.
What?
Ride the phone till the wheels fall off. Come on, thanks for joining. No, ride till the wheels fall off. Let's go.
All right. So we've all graded Monday Night Raw. That brings us to NXT from the next night for 22. Coming off of Stand and Deliver. Give me 1 second. I'm a little unprepared. Sorry.
All right, I'm playing.
Where is
But before we lose Sammy, is there anything? Is anything you really want to highlight before you leave? Oh shoot! Dang it. I was gonna say let him say his piece before he leaves, but I'm
Is
playing.
he already
But
gone?
yeah. Put your phone in your hand.
All right. So this week, like I said, post Stand and Deliver. So it's basically the Raw after Mania for NXT. We are in Las Vegas, Nevada, where WrestleMania was held. We start off with let's see. They have a recap of Stand and Deliver, which is a fairly long recap. The people that won and lost, all those kinds of things. And then we really kicked the show off with the women's tag team match. The titles, Raquel and Liv, who just won them Monday night, the night before, after losing them at WrestleMania, defend them against Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley of Fatal Influence. Raquel and Liv retain. Okay. I mean, for what it is, I guess it's fine. It. I guess it gives Liv and Raquel something to do after Raw as well. I suppose it's supposed to give Paxley and Dolan a rub, I suppose, but I didn't really get that. Honestly, I didn't really see that too much. I thought that they looked, unfortunately, like they're probably in the right spot, which is in NXT and losing to Liv and Raquel. Unfortunately, I wasn't overly impressed with them. And so, for me, this is what it is. It wasn't necessarily the way that I think I would have kicked off the NXT after Stand and Deliver, but it is what it is. So, what do you think about this weekend, Tammy?
Sorry. Oh, all right. So for me, I do agree with you. There were some spots where like you see Gigi adjusting, and it's like, oh, all right, it's fine. But overall, it didn't suck. It didn't suck. This is like it. I can't. What you call it? Everything's not going to be for us, right? So we gotta be not level headed, but we got to assess the situation in a what you call it, a non-biased way, right? So it was fine. I love that you have a main event stars on NXT. That was cool. I will say this: even though Gigi and what's her partner's name?
Tatum Paxley.
Although they lost, I am not opposed to having a NXT tag team beat the women for the titles. I think that would be a good swerve. Not them, but yeah, definitely have like maybe Lash Legend Shakar, or maybe so Ruka and what's Girl Crusher? Zarya, or maybe them. But yeah, I would not be opposed to them winning them titles and going from main roster to NXT. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But this was fine. This was a decent way to kick off NXT after Takeover Mania.
Yeah. So at Stand and Deliver, Ken basically told Lexus King to put his Heritage Cup in the thing. He was going to do a magic trick, and it disappeared. So we're continuing this story. Lexus King is now on NXT this week with Penn and Teller telling him to bring back his Heritage Cup. But before they'll do that, he has to admit that magic is real and defend the cup tonight. Lexus King says deal, and so he has a defense against a mystery opponent tonight. What any comments on this Lexus King Penn and Teller stuff that's fanned from Stand and Delivered to
Like
NXT
they're
tonight?
on They're on CW, so we got to do some brand placement, just like for Netflix. We got to do brand placement. So Hidden Taylor, watch their show on CW somewhere in the week.
Yeah. We got Dark State. They're making fun of No Quarter Catch Crew. Javon Evans comes in, doesn't like it, and ultimately we get a match later. Miles Bourne and Javon Evans versus the Dark State and their Freebird rules, because there's 4 of them. So we'll tell you who ends up being in the match later. Anything you want to comment on that little segment?
Cool. After Stand and Deliver, you want to know how people are placed and what they're going to do. So Javon Evans with the Dark State, I'm not opposed to. I still put him in a nice little placement on the card, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I guess No Quarter Catch Crew to a certain extent are baby faces, and Javon is definitely a face. So I guess I see that. What I don't want is there to be too much of a connection between No Quarter Catch Crew and Javon Evans, because I feel like there's a bit of a No Quarter Catch Crew vortex a little bit. And not really a vortex, but like the couple people that have come, they haven't been given the proper booking, and the couple people that have come and gone haven't really done anything either with them or after them. So I want a little bit more from Javon Evans, but at the same time, Dark State is one of your big stories on NXT. So keeping him involved with them, I like. So, in some way, shape, or form, I'm not joining them in any way. I like the conflict. I just don't want to see him get too bogged down with No Quarter Catch Crew.
Yeah. I think No Quarter Catch Crew is the odd man out in this scenario, honestly. But Javon needs a partner, and everyone else is busy, so sure. Like I said, No Quarter Catch Crew are the heels. The baby faces of this scenario. And only that. They're only the baby faces of this scenario.
Yeah. Ricky Saints is chatting. Baxter is having a sit-down chat. He's happy to have retained his title. Even his mother doesn't like Ethan Page. Here comes the aforementioned Lexus King, who now has his Heritage Cup back. But he wants more. He's not satisfied, and he wants Ricky's North American title. King says he'll even put the Heritage Cup up against Ricky's title, and Ricky says that works for him. So not tonight, but at some point down the road, looks like we would get Ricky Saints North American title versus Lexus King and the Heritage Cup. What do you think about Ricky and Lexus here?
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to that at all. When it comes to more so the North American title, Ricky needs some people, and Lexus King, even though he's still kind of long, he still got some ways to go. He's way better than he was when we met him. So this should be a nice little match. This shouldn't be a full-on feud. It's a nice little match, and then go on to the next thing. So I'm not mad at this.
It's not conspicuous by his absence on this episode, because I thought what we were getting next was Wesley. I was surprised that Wesley wasn't here. I kind of thought we were getting Wesley versus Ricky Saints. That was going to be that. Maybe they want to do that down the road because maybe they want Wesley to win, and so they kind of hold that off for a minute. I don't know, but I thought that's what we were getting next. So,
that really is a moneymaker match. That is a takeover. I'm sorry, I still call their pay-per-view takeovers. That's a takeover match. That is a good feud for Ricky Saints to start with. So I'm not saying hold off on it, but what I am saying is, you put that in a prominent position. Like you give that rivalry some room to breathe. So yeah.
I mean, he's got to have warm bodies to defend against, and Lexus King, I guess, is somebody. But it just feels weird if you're pushing Lexus King. I would think you want a little bit of a storyline there, and I thought that we were building the Wesley versus Ricky Saints storyline. So it just feels like there's overlapping storylines. My guess is Lexus King is the one that gets pushed out somehow, which is ultimately fine to a certain extent. What's that do to stunt his development? So I guess we'll see what ends up happening when it all boils out. But Thea Hale is backstage. She is happy and she's with Hank and Tank and Sol Ruka, who all won at Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
Jada Parker is not interested in Thea Hale's energy. Neither is Fatal Influence. Jasmine and JC Jane and Jasmine Nix don't. Oh, wow. I referred to Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley earlier as Fatal Influence. That was my mistake. I apologize. This is Fatal
Nah,
Influence. Jasmine Nix,
same
JC
difference.
Jane, and Fallon Henley, right?
Yeah.
And they have a little bit of a whatever. They tell Fallon to deal with it, and Fallon doesn't like their attitude, and they don't like her attitude, and they kind of leave Fallon. It almost looks like there's some division brewing between Fallon and JC and Jasmine, which ultimately is fine with me because I don't like Fatal Influence. And honestly, if you're asking me, uh, Fallon Henley's the star at this point of that group, and she's
Right?
probably better. She's better than the two of them, and probably deserves to. They're probably holding her back a little bit at this point, which is interesting because JC Jane, I think, was supposed to be when Fatal Influence was
Yes.
created, was supposed to be the big star, right? So,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, Fallon Henley's definitely turned me around for sure. I mean, a year ago, I want to say. I wasn't
Yeah.
a big Fallon year when she was in the Brooks Jensen situation. Her
Yeah.
and Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, I didn't like Fallon Henley. Now
It was
she's
fine.
grown a
Yeah.
lot, and I really like Fallon Henley a lot. So I'd love to see her break away from Fatal Influence and do something more on her own. So maybe we'll get to anything you want to say about all this little stuff that happened backstage.
No, I totally agree with you about Fallon Henley. I don't think anyone had that on the bingo card that she would be the standout person. So if you wanted to break them off from her, I'm not opposed to that. I think she's ready for that. This was a nice little segment, but I do think so. I think so. Ruka should deserve a little bit more pomp and circumstance about winning her title. I like, hey, listen, everybody won their titles. No offense, but So Ruka is a little bit better than Heck and Take. So I would have loved that she had her own little segment and not have them all standing in a row. But this was fine. I am excited for the Women's American Championship because like all the people come like these gonna be some good matches coming out. I'm here for So Ruka versus Jada. I'm here for her versus Fatal Influence. In any capacity. So that's gonna be a nice little run for her.
I know. This is we did the watch long for Stand and Deliver, so we haven't really reviewed it or talked about it too much. But yes, Sol Ruka did come out of the ladder match with the women's North American title. So I was happy to see that. I like to see that. Hank and Tank did dethrone and put a stop to Fraxium, which we talked about at the time being very interesting with the amount of tag teams that have come through and faced them and lost for Hank and Tank to get the win. Well, you know.
Well, more so, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched SmackDown, it was you gotta pass the torch when you get called up. And unfortunately, Heck and Tank were on a better role than everybody else. So they're the ones for Fraxium, by choice or hook or crook, they're on a better trajectory than other teams. So they got the rub. But Fraxium is now officially on SmackDown. So
I haven't watched SmackDown, so I didn't know that. So they've been pulled up from
they're
NXT.
called up. They're official. And I love them on SmackDown. That's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun.
Well, congratulations for them making it up to the main roster and for, we'll see what that means for the NXT tag team division, with Hank and Tank as the champions. I'm not overly optimistic. We'll see how long they hold the belts and what kind of competition they have. When I look at the landscape, there's not a whole lot. I mean, there's there's Tyreek, and there's Tyson and Tyreek who are with Wesley, who I really like. I'm trying to think a lot of the other teams that Fraxium faced over the time that they were champion were teams that came down from the main roster or from TNA or one-offs. There's not a whole lot. There's not a real established tag team division in NXT for the men's. Maybe with Hank and Tank having the titles, maybe we'll get a little bit more of that. Like, I don't know. Where's Gallus? Like, I know one of them wrestled on Evolve a couple weeks ago, and I thought, wow, how far Gallus has fallen. Like, they're wrestling on Evolve. But, like, where's Gallus? There's some other teams that, I'd like to see. But right now, that division is very, very thin. So we'll see what happens with the tag team titles. But
They need a refresh. They do need a refresh.
They do. Next, they need bodies. They need tag team bodies. Is really what they need, and good tag team bodies. So, next on this episode, we had the Heritage Cup champion Lexis King defending against a mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent ends up being the returning Scottish ace Noam Dar.
Yeah.
The man is back.
So if you heard me scream when we were talking about Grand Americano, I was watching my television, and that's when I'm like, oh! I'm like, oh, he came back. I was watching it during the conversation. Oh no, I'm there. That's perfect. It really is perfect.
Yeah, so Noam Dar comes back. He's back. His first match back is against Lexis King for his Heritage Cup, as everyone knows it, since he held it forever, right?
Yes.
And so he in a little under 5 minutes, in what was a little bit of an extended, say squash match, but it didn't do anything for Lexis King. This was definitely a returning Noam Dar showcase, and he did get the win and take back the Heritage Cup, which is interesting. You know, Lexis King has been here doing decent work, so in that regard, I'm a little, okay, and but Noam Dar, this is his. Even though this isn't a Heritage Cup style match, this is his thing. The Heritage Cup is what he does, and that's So I'm happy to see Noam Dar back. I'm a huge Noam Dar fan. I'm glad that it looks like. Well, we'll see. Maybe Metaphor is not coming back as a group, which I would be happy with because I like them all. I don't like Aura Mensa, so I'm happy for Noam Dar to be on his own, Jakara and Lash to be on their own in the women's tag team division, whatever that looks like. And so, but yes, Noam Dar's back. He got the win. He is now your Heritage Cup champion. Anika, you're excited to talk about this. Let me know what you think.
No. No. This is like I said. This is the perfect time. This is perfect time. Perfect opponent. What I was gonna say was I was surprised that they didn't have Metaphor come out. Like you said, even like I'm not sure if they couldn't all get plane tickets or not, but I was like, at least have Lash and Shakar outside. Like you said, I'm not sure when the last time we saw the other dude. What was the old dude name?
Which one? Noam
Metaphor.
Dar?
No, not Noam Dar, but the other dude Metaphor.
Oh, Aura Mensa. Yeah, it's been a while. I think he had that little thing with I forget who it was even with. He had a little segment with the champion for a minute. Who was that? Was that Trick? Maybe I don't even remember who it was.
Sure.
And then he's been gone since then.
Yeah. So like it's been a minute since I Aura Mensa, but I was thinking at least Shakar and Lash would come out. But yeah, this is perfect. I love this. I still have high regards for I was gonna say Ethan Page. Lexis King, and I think him losing it's just him moving on. That demotion is just him moving on. But this was a great moment, especially the NXT after Mania. This was good.
I mean, he's definitely. I mean, he's going to have this little feud, whatever we want to call it, with Ricky Saints for that title. He's not going to probably beat Ricky for the title, but no, I mean, and Noam Dar, he is great and back and all those things. We'll see what he does there. For me personally, I always thought Noam Dar, wrestling wise and talking wise, deserves a little bit more. Maybe he's back. Maybe he's 100% healthy. Maybe that'll happen now. I don't know. Not that there's anything wrong with the Heritage Cup, but it's definitely, I want to say somewhat of an afterthought to a certain extent on NXT, and NXT is a developmental show. So I think Noam Dar myself belongs on the main roster somewhere doing something. I mean, I think he's that good. So I don't know what that looks like. He shouldn't be world champion, but I could see him being, a U.S. title holder at some point, maybe, or something. I mean, he'd be more perfect for like a cruiserweight division on the main roster, which obviously we don't have. But at the same time, there are enough guys that I think he could have quality matches with and maybe win a title. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening on NXT. Maybe he'll end up winning a couple titles on NXT too. We'll see. But happy to have Noam Dar back. Roxanne Perez. is annoyed because people are taking her spotlight, and she is ready to win the women's title tonight in her main event match against Stephanie DeCare. What do you think about Roxanne's attitude?
It's kind of justified. Like you said, I'll say this, right? Yes, we get all these new little toys in the bunch, but I don't think we have to ignore Roxanne. And her not being on Stand Deliver was a bit of a shocker. It's like, oh, so we're real life not doing anything with Roxanne. And said, we know that she's getting called up, but you would think she'll have the grand match of her what's it called? The grand match of her passing the torch at Stand Deliver. It's cool that she's gonna get it on television, but it's like it's Roxanne. She didn't get that Stand Deliver. Okay, fine. So it's justified. She can be a brat about it, but it is justified.
No doubt. Our next match, we have Fallon Henley versus Thea Hale, which was called out from the earlier backstage segment. Mm-hmm. Fatal Influence this year. We go back and forth, Fallon Henley and Thea Hale. Jasmine Nix distracts the referee, and Jason Jane attempts to kick Thea Hale, but ends up kicking Fallon Henley by mistake. And as a result, Thea Hale gets the win with the Kimura, and Fallon Henley taps in a very short amount of time. And surprisingly, there wasn't really any post-match stuff after this. It looked like J.C. Jane was apologizing to Fallon Henley and trying to make things okay, but at the same time, we'll see. I think this is definitely at least Fallon Henley leaving Fatal Influence in the near future, if not the dissolution of Fatal Influence. I mean, maybe they'll get another member and keep going, but I think Fallon Henley's leaving at some point very soon. So, which this match felt more like a catalyst for that storyline than it did for anything Thea Hale was doing. So,
right. I'm happy that Thea Hale won. I am. I think last year she was definitely one of the top women on NXT. So I do want them to kind of rebuild her up for her to go for other stuff. So I'm glad that she won. Like I said, I totally agree. This is more so a Fatal Influence angle match than anything. I don't think you break them up just yet. You gotta slow burn it. Okay, slow burn has become a very, very bad word. Let's appropriately burn it so everybody will come out fine. We'll say that. But cool. This was cool.
Yeah. Oba is in the ring for Chad. He says he did exactly what he promised he would do at Stand and Deliver. Let's see. Oba praises Javon for being more over than he thought, but he can't stand Trick Williams because he is just that much better than Trick. Cue whoop that Trick music, and whoop that Trick music, and here comes Trick Williams. And he wants his one-on-one title shot with Oba, which he's still whining about not getting. He's not wrong, but he's whining about it at this point.
Yes, you're whining about it. It's the
problem. And much to his chagrin, here comes, say his name, and he appears, Mr. TNA World Champion, Joe Hendry. He isn't seeing the same Williams that he tagged with last year. The truth is that Williams has become entitled instead of hungry, and now is just a whiny bitch, which is absolutely 100% true. Let's see. Trick Williams says, you had your moment at WrestleMania and you got beat up. So, which, since this is the only time we're going to see Joe Hendry and we don't do TNA, we're not really doing a proper WrestleMania review. I was extremely disappointed with the whole Randy Orton, Joe Hendry thing. Like, this is a guy, I understand that you think your company is way up here and TNA should be licking the dirt off the bottom of your boots, but to make it that obvious with the TNA champion in a 30-second squash, like to a guy that's well past
30 seconds.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for all intents and purposes in WWE eyes, that basically buried Joe Hendry. And it buries TNA and the world champion. Now he's back here on NXT trying to make it look like I'm still somebody. No, we saw what happened when you came to the main roster. So, like, I was really, really disappointed with that booking at WrestleMania. But it is what it is. So it may be a little bit more confused with this here, but I guess they think that that's where the TNA World Champion belongs when it comes to the world of WWE is on NXT. So, do you want to talk about it all, what happened at WrestleMania before I continue with this little segment, or do you want me to finish this segment and then talk about it all at once?
No. Because of the WrestleMania thing, Luke Owens said, and I agree, two things can be true. Number one, how they set it up was great. Him being a surprise person and them having a great time and Randy Orton doing the whole
Right.
that was hilarious. That was hilarious. But on the flip side, what is also true is you could have gave him more. You could have gave him more. But then more so, like you said, it's not a mind. It depends on who's doing the negotiations. Because TNA, you could have fought harder for how it was going to play out. I'm not saying like Joe Hendry. Yeah, Joe Hendry. I'm sorry. Like that's the name, right? I'm not saying that he should have won, but you could have had a better layout of how the match would have gone. But you did it because your management is somewhere off of on Mars right now. Unfortunately, that's one way to express it. But if they're going to do more for him in NXT, if you're going to have another match in NXT, he has to win. If that's what's happening, he has to win. Otherwise, it really does become, what are we doing? You're not as big as we thought you are. Like he has to have a win. If you're going to do something on NXT, he has to win something.
It's going to be tough because as the rest of this promo went on, Joe Hendry said, at least I was in the ring and you were in the stands. And he said he'll be defending his title at TNA Rebellion. But in the meantime, he has business with Oba Femi. Oba kind of looks at him and Wood Trick is like, well, wait a second. And then he gets pushed kind of to the side. And we're left with a stare down between Oba and Joe, in which, well, actually, Oba says, don't end up like Moose, which we already saw. Moose came over and got beat up by Oba Femi. So, the question is, if his move on here in NXT is to wrestle Oba Femi next, that's a tough road to climb. Like, Joe Hendry shouldn't be necessarily getting a win over Oba. Like, I don't know. He's got to have something in between that. Like, if it's right into Oba, like, I don't.
Yeah.
And if Oba gets the win again, man, that really, really buries both Joe and TNA. I mean, the idea is that, I would think the idea of having a working agreement with TNA is to try to help TNA get her. I mean, well, I guess the point is, at this point, it's just further showing how superior you are. That's what it feels like. I thought it was to be to give TNA a little bit of a rub and maybe, whatever, put some of their superstars on wrestling, on WWE TV, get some more exposure, maybe some eyes on TNA. But as long as you're burying people, no one's going to want to watch them on TNA. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it's very weird. So
No,
I don't know.
I don't like. There has to be some space between these matches because I agree with you with everything. I don't know how they're going to do this, but I do feel like they like Joe Hendry and they want to do something with him. So that being said, HBK, you gotta play this out. You gotta play this out right. For me, I wouldn't do him versus Obo so quick. I would definitely let him get a win, and just be like I said, craft this very carefully because Joe Hendry should be one of your next big things. But if you don't do it carefully, it's not going to do anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next comes the D'Angelo family segment. The soap opera continues. Luca Crucifino follows Stax out into the desert. Crucifino starts yelling at Stax, why'd you do what you did? Stax asks Crucifino if he knows why he invited him out here. And Crucifino says, oh, bleep. And the camera goes off. Stax looked very intense. I guess we're going to see if Stax is going to whack Luca. I guess that's where we're going at this point. I don't know what's going to happen. I think he's going to try to recruit him and bad about Tony and try to bring him to his side. I'm totally sure what's going to happen here, but doesn't look very good for Luca Crucifino at the moment in the desert with an angry Stax. Or maybe not angry, maybe determined. I'm not totally sure. I don't want to say Stax didn't look psycho or angry. He just looked very determined, I guess. Anika looks very worried for Luca.
I don't want the family to break up. I don't want to break up. This is so emotional. I like it. I like it. We can do both segments of the family right now. Like, there's no point of straightening them out. But it does
Go
feel
ahead.
like
Tell us about
it's
the
going.
second segment then.
Yeah. You go take a segment. Go take a segment.
Okay. So later, I gotta get to my notes because it didn't happen right away. But let's see. Later, Tony D goes to Riz's hotel room, and they have a conversation. They can't believe what Stax is doing. They realize that they haven't heard from Luca in a while, and that Tony says he's ready to go to the mattresses. It's time to take out Stax. Riz says you can't do that. You guys have been friends for way too long. Um, D'Angelo wants Riz to go to a safe house because it is not safe right now on the streets, and Riz basically, agrees reluctantly. So it sounds like Tony D and Stats are about to go at it with Luca stuck in the middle. Well, Luca and Riz stuck in the middle, assuming that Luca survives his time in the desert with Stacks.
So yeah, this is definitely gonna be the division. What's the word? What's a good word? Uh, a civil war. There we go. A civil war between the family. I think that's trying to recruit Luca, and I think oh, girl's gonna stay with Tony D, and they just gotta battle it out. And it's gonna break up, and it's gonna suck, but it's gonna be the best story in NXT because it's all it is. Just like crazy enough, this Tony D and more so Tony D and Stacks definitely going on 3 years, maybe 4. So this is gonna hurt. It's not gonna be as big as Judgment Day, but if you're an NXT fan, it might be on the same level. It might be on the same level. So done right, this is gonna hurt, and it's gonna be good in the worst way possible.
Yeah, I've had my ups and downs with the D'Angelo family. They've had some really high moments for me and some not so great moments. I thought their segment, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where they basically introduced the Dark State. I didn't think that was a very good segment. I thought that was left a little to be desired. But
Yeah.
this for me is fun. I like this. There's nothing wrong with the D'Angelo family, but the drama makes it more interesting, unfortunately. So this fallout makes it exciting. We'll see what Stax is doing. I think you're right. I think ultimately he's there to try to recruit Luca. And I think you'll probably have, I don't know how it's going to work out, but like you said, we're going to have, Riz is going to be on D'Angelo Tony's side, and Dax and Luca will be on the opposite side. So we'll end up seeing how it plays out. But I'm here for it. I thought that it came off well. When you do, cinematic soap opera y stuff like this, it can be hit or miss. But I thought that this hit, so far it's hitting. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. But for me right now, I'm definitely on board to see how it plays out.
It's a sad and good start. It is, whatever.
Dark State versus Javon Evans and Miles Bourne from earlier in the night. It's Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin, who are the two chosen for the Freebird rule to represent Dark State. Ultimately, Dark State gets the win with the double powerbomb on Miles Bourne. Javon Evans looked better in this match than Bourne did, which isn't a surprise. I'm not a big fan of Miles Bourne. I thought Dark State looked okay. They're getting to do. I really feel like they've learned a lot from the Retribution, debacle. They've let these guys look really strong. They let them have this win. I thought they looked strong in this win. To be fair, Miles Bourne in the no quarter catch crew is really nobody. Javon Evans, though, has been, whether right or wrong, whether the little dog in the picture was in your main event picture and has been in your main event world title picture. So, them getting a win over him does something for them. It at least provides a little credibility. Like I said before, I hope Javon doesn't get stuck too much. Like, I hope this doesn't become a program in any way, shape, or form with Javon and the No Quarter Catch Crew versus Dark State. This needs to be a one-off. And Javon, and Dark State do something else. I don't know what that looks like, but I thought this match was fine for what it was, and I'm glad that Dark State got the win and looked really strong in the win. What do you think?
No, I agree with everything you said. this was a good, like you said, this is a good match for, even though NXT is on national television, it's still developmental, right? So this was a good match to see where everyone plays out. I'm kind of glad that old boy from North Cortex got some power, because in my brain, no offense, I haven't seen enough of them, so I don't really know where to gauge them at. So this was actually a good thing to be like, all right, let's gauge where they're at so we can assess them good. Well, Dark State should have won because they're the new big boys in the block, so I'm definitely okay with that. And Javon is he didn't go down, and that's a good thing. Like I'm happy with this. You know, as long as you just don't go like difficult. If you don't have nothing to do with them, just keep them right here, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So this was this was there you go, a serviceable match,
Let's see. Sean Spears is talking to Ava when Inamura comes in saying it's time for him to go back to Japan. Pro Wrestling Noah. He wanted to win the titles with Briggs, but that didn't happen. So he's ready to go back. Ava says, "Well, I'll give you one more shot. You and Briggs have a title shot next week." And then Briggs comes in and asks what happened, and Inamura smiles at him. Ava leaves. Inamura smiles at him and says, "Old Japanese secret." So the implication is that he kind of played Ava a little, by using the "I'll go home" leverage, and she wanted to keep him. So needless to say, they have a tag team match
manipulative bastard
against Hank and Tate next week. I want Briggs and Inamura to beat Hank and Tate next week. These are the guys that I wanted to be tag team champions and beat Fraxium. So hopefully maybe they pull the trigger on that next week. At the same time, it's okay sometimes to hot potato titles, and I know Hank and Tank are a little over their head. I think if Hank and Tank lose next week to Briggs and Inamura like I want, I still think it further. I don't know. Even though Fraxium's gone, it doesn't make them look very good. Like they lose to Hank and Tank, who then turn around and lose the next week right away. Like it doesn't make Fraxium look all that great. But again, they're gone, so maybe it doesn't matter at this point. Maybe they have enough, enough people don't pay attention to what happens on NXT that it doesn't do anything to them on the main roster. But I feel like it leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth for Fraxium when it's all said and done. But that being said, I'd still love Briggs and Inamura to be champions. So, what do you think? You think they get the win, or you think that Hank and Tank retain?
So I don't think they're going to win, unfortunately, right? Like, I listen. I want what you want, but I don't think they put enough stank on it or enough energy into Inamura and what's the boy's name? Briggs to be like, Briggs, oh, yes. It's time for you to win. I'm not opposed to hot potatoing if it's done right. I can go back to the tag team titles in Attitude Era. It's probably the best version of hot potatoing, but everyone has to be hot. Like the reason why that works is because all those teams in that division in that rivalry was hot. So we gotta heat some of these teams up. So I don't want to be on here. It can take a long time, but we do need a more prominent, established team to beat them. We do need
that. Ricky Saints is happy that Noam Dar won the Heritage Cup, but Lexis King is still getting his title shot. Ethan Page comes in to distract Ricky Saints, and Lexis King takes advantage and comes in and punches Ricky in the face. Then it switches to Andre Chase, who has a suitcase, and he opens a suitcase and he pulls out a Chase U sweater and he yells, "We're fucking back, baby!" Which I thought was really terrible. I thought the Ricky Saints segment the Ricky Saints segment was fine. I thought the Andre Chase segment was terrible. Like for me personally, Chase U has never been successful. It just hasn't.
Don't say that. That's not true.
No matter who's been in there, who's been his student, I don't feel like it's been successful, and I don't need it back again. That being said, Andre Chase wasn't doing anything really. I mean, yeah. Okay, let me rephrase that. I kind of liked a little bit right after Chase U looked like it was dissolved. Kind of his direction looked like maybe it was going to pick up and he was going to maybe turn heel or something. And I was a little here to see how that played out, but right. Then they pulled that off again, and now I guess we're back to Chase U. So I guess if he's got to do something, it's whatever. I understand that on a developmental program, the idea of having a faction with a teacher makes sense. I get that. I just don't like Andre Chase that much. So
Yeah, I'm glad you told the truth. You just don't like Andre Chase that much. But like, I will say this: if you're going to stipulation, I need you to have a plan after the stipulation happens. It's like him putting up Chase U. I think we're all like, what are we gonna do afterwards? What's gonna happen afterwards? You have a plan? You have a plan. You don't have a plan, do you? So why are we having stipulation? You don't have a plan. That would be frustration. If you don't have a plan for what happens after the stipulation happens, then don't do it. Honestly. So him going back to Chase U.
how long does the stipulation stay in place? Like you have to dismantle Chase U. It's only been a month, and now we're back. Like so, the stipulation really didn't mean anything at all. Like
Right. Like I go like the one that just popped into my mind, the whole Survivor Series stipulation where if Austin loses, he's not general manager. Yeah, that's good in place. That's been 20 years. So like it depends. It really depends on who's in charge, I guess. And maybe they do a different version. Like maybe they do a stipulation. Maybe it's Chase U, but it's a public school or something like that. I don't know. But he said they didn't have anything for him after the stip, so it is what it is. Hopefully they'll do better. Even though, unlike you, I did see the great moments of Chase U. Success in kayfabe, no, but I remember them versus. I remember him and Howard, Luke Howard, Luke Howard, the Australian dude, Luke Harper.
Oh no, yeah, no.
What's his name?
Luke Harper is Brody Lee.
Yeah, what's the dude that was in Chase U that was Australian?
Yeah.
Your name is Luke. I'm sorry, but them versus Frax. Duke Hudson. I love their match at Takeover with Fraxium. That's probably was the best time. So, and I actually love them with Thea Hale when Thea Hale went against Tiffy time. Even though Tiffy don't know how to do a squat and hold a finger submission move, but that's not their fault. That's Tiffany's fault. But yeah, so we'll see how this goes for Chase U. More so with Ricky and even Paige and Lucas King. I think we're always like, why took y'all so long? I get it. You don't want everybody. You don't want to be totally attached to AEW, but it felt like a no-brainer after Cody Rhodes went to NXT and they did the whole you. It's like just put them in a group. So even Paige and Lexus King in a group, just do it. Just do it. Stop overthinking stuff. Yes, put them in a group.
All right, now it's time for the main event. The women's title on the line. You're defending NXT Women's Champion Stephanie the Care versus Roxanne Perez in what might very well be Roxanne's last match on NXT. We don't know for sure. Even if it is, she'll be back at some point, as everyone comes back to NXT at some point. But it could be her very last match. And you know, if I'm her, like going out against someone like Stephanie, I'm excited for that. Like, I mean, I know that she, you know, maybe Stephanie's not like her greatest rival. I'm not even sure who that might even be. But like, you're wrestling as an extremely talented superstar, and the match, you know, the match was good as you would expect it to be. I thought they both looked really good. They gave them some time. When I say time, it was a little over 10 minutes. I mean, they didn't give them 20. They didn't have to make them go 20, but, you know, they went like 11 and a half minutes, which is split. I mean, you know, anything over 10 is really good. I know Anika likes a solid tight 10 minutes. Like that's so, you know, you got that here with a little bit of whatever. So
we're here for a good time, not a long time. That's my perspective.
So no, I mean, I thought this came off well. Stephanie got the win, as she should. They had a couple moments that I thought were exciting. You know, a couple back and forths, a couple near falls. I thought the match itself worked well. They seem to have really good chemistry. And, you know, Stephanie got the win. She is still your NXT Women's Champion. And I assume Roxanne is destined for the main roster very, very, very soon here. So talk about the match first, and then we'll talk about a little bit about what I'm trying to see. Nothing happened post-match. Oh yeah, post match. Yes, there is. I forgot there was something that did happen post match. So talk about the match first, and we'll talk about the post match.
So we said this earlier, where it's like we knew that Roxanne's go home send off was coming. We just didn't know. Well, we thought it was gonna be a send deliver, but the send deliver after NXT after WrestleMania, that's a pretty good showing. Okay, fine, but like you said, her versus Stephanie was great. It was great, and you can see Stephanie is with her. The whole thing with her and Julia and her taking the title, we all kind of assume like, okay, it's because Julia's hurt, right? But it's like, no. Stephanie is champion. She is she is solidified. You can tell like she should be champion for a good minute. Like no offense to Julia, but if I had to choose, I'm on the Stephanie boat right now, honestly. So a great showing for Stephanie, a great send off match to Roxanne. Okay, this will be probably her. She'll probably come back, but this is probably her last match as a NXT roster member. That better way. So, and a great way to end NXT after Mania. This was all good. This was all good.
Yeah. So Julia comes down after Stephanie gets the win. And you get a stare down between Julia and Stephanie, and Jordan Grace is watching on from the crowd as the show comes to its end and conclusion. I thought it was better than Raw this week. I enjoyed it more. Even though I didn't really like the opening match, and I don't necessarily think that Gigi and Tatum should be getting a title shot. If you're going to have them lose, if you're going to have somebody on NXT lose to Liv and Raquel, I'm glad it was them.
Right.
So I'm happy Noam Dar is back, and he's a Heritage Cup champion again. I thought Thea Hale looked, even though it wasn't a lot, I thought Thea Hale getting the win against Fallon Henley was good for her, and I'm happy to see Fallon Henley kind of breaking away, what I think is breaking away from Fatal Influence. And I thought that the other two matches were really solid. Dark State looked good, and obviously Stephanie and Roxanne killed it. So I'm giving this a B. I thought it was better than Raw this week, which I gave a C. So I'm giving this a solid B.
Right. So we're not on the same boat with Raw, but we are on the same boat with NXT. I do give this a B as well. This was a solid NXT after Mania. We have new opponents. We have people coming back. It was serviceable. It was fun. So yeah, a solid B for NXT.
All right. Well, that brings us to an end of our NXT review, and that means we're moving into our final show, which is AEW Dynamite, which Miss Aniko will take the reins and lead us through.
Listen, so yeah, NXT Dynamite from August 23rd. I said listen because I'm very disappointed that we couldn't do Winter Circle last week, because last week was pretty good. Last week was pretty good, more so with AEW, but I'm glad even though it's a short time, we review everything in our own little way. I say that to start off because last week the Ops beat Death Riders for the trios titles. A great way to end that set. I was like, did they have a special name for it? Yes, no, no. It was
last
just
week. Was it Spring Breakin'?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was Spring Breakin'.
But either way, whatever they called it, Spring Breakin', it was also the anniversary of they broke WCW's record. They're now the longest reigning wrestling show on Turner Classic TV. So all you people who are comparing it to WCW, suck it. You can't do it anymore. So stop. It's over. So we have our opening segment. We're in New Orleans. And so we have New Orleans' own Master P open up the show. Na 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 na. This na. Listen. I was listening to a podcast, and the amount of people saying who and they're trying to figure out who Master P was. And the way they discovered it was hilarious. CM, if you're in the chat, she was in the group chat too. They didn't say anything about him rapping. They said, "Oh, Lil Romeo's daddy," and it's like, "Oh," and they said, "Oh, he had No Limit. He actually had a wrestling faction on WCW." It was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Y'all said nothing about
Lil
this man
Romeo's dad.
here.
Holy smokes! Like that's brutal. Like I always thought of Little Romeo as Master P's kid, not the other way around. Like
that was hilarious. That was a hilarious thing to experience. But either way, he comes out and he brings out the ops, and here comes Samoa Joe, Ciabatta, and sorry, brain fart. I want to say Wardlow so bad. I'm getting old. Powerhouse Hobbs. Will Hobbs is why I said it. Powerhouse Hobbs. So real quick, because you review it, how do you feel about Will Hobbs taking Hook's place in the ops? Because Hook unfortunately got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, in some regards, they're kind of in the ring. They're kind of on the same level for me, as far as they're both still developing, for all intents and purposes. I personally like Hook better than Powerhouse Hobbs, just in general.
Really?
But I don't mind Powerhouse Hobbs, and for Joe and Ciabatta, I guess it makes sense. I mean, there was something about Joe, Hook, and Ciabatta that really felt like it was generations passing on wrestling knowledge to the new generation. And I don't get that same feeling with Hobbs, mostly just because Hobbs is not the same kind of wrestler. He's not that kind of guy. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's plenty that Hobbs can learn from Ciabatta and Joe, 100%, no doubt. It just doesn't have the same feeling as it did with Hook. But again, we'll see how it plays out. And I thought he did fine, in this segment here. Thought Hobbs did fine in this segment. So,
yeah. So I kind of agree. So I'm definitely am, because I think it's still happening. I'm definitely am to being Hook, being trained by Samoa Joe, but as a replacement because he did get hurt. It isn't like it isn't a Bailey because situation where it's like, oh, Becky came back, we're just going to move Bailey aside. Hook got hurt, so I think he's definitely going to come back. But I think with Hobbs is a great replacement for him. Like he fits the ops perfectly. Not sure how we're going to bring Hook back into the fold, but I'm definitely here for Will Hobbs being with the ops. So they come down to the ring with their beautiful new trio championship titles on their shoulders. Joe gets the mic, do a little New Orleans hype up, make them say, "Oh, la." Took over the crowd going with them completely, because why the freak not? This is Joe's like, it's a great place to start off our celebration. We want to thank Master P and all the work he does in the community for the kids. And the Master P hypes up his rightfully so, could get that money for the kids. High school sports program, yeah, get the money for the kids. That actually is a good thing. But here comes the freaking Death Riders. And not all at once, but Marina Shafir comes through the crowd looking cute with your hair did and everything. Like you supposed to be a distraction, not a bodyguard, ma'am. Oh my God. Sorry. She comes through the crowd by herself. And here comes Claudio, Yuta, and my brain is being old right now. I want to say Moxley to beat up the ops from behind. They get the one up on them. And it's Moxley and Master P in the ring by themselves. Sweet baby G. So and Master P, listen. And Master P is holding his own. like I said, he did have a group. He did have a group in WCW, but I'm not sure how much he wrestled in the group. But thankfully, the ops get the one up on him, and Joe goes behind Moxley and chokes him again. And while he's choking out Moxley, Bastard P is throwing in these punk behind punches from the front, and it's like, what are we doing? Listen, all of wrestling. Can you please stop having rappers come in segments and not give them instructions? It feels like y'all never tell them what to do. And I get it, they're celebrities, you don't want to fall. But this is a contact sport. This is contact entertainment. I would love for you, like, give them guidelines. Tell them what the end is. Like, hey, whatever happens, this is the end. Say it. Because it was hilarious. So Master P's acting like he's in charge, just saying a bunch of stuff, and then you can hear Joe offhand like, Master P, hush. Master P got him. Master P, you said the line. You said the line. Like, he was literally just telling Master P, please say the line. And so Master P was like, all right, Joe, put it to sleep. And so he's choking him out. But here comes the Young Bucks. Sleep, baby. Jesus. They fight off the ops, helping out Moxley. Moxley comes too. He don't know what's different happened. He rather go one-on-one with the Young Bucks. But Ray's like, no. Let's leave. Yeah, they actually helped us. Let's leave. So we have the Young Bucks and Okada in the ring, standing tall. But here comes Swerve. The Young Bucks Hunter coming to get his lip back. And so the Elite go up the ramp to get away from Swerve, but here comes Omega with a chair. So they have to escape through the fan base. And Aaron is like, oh, okay. So baby faces are all what's the word? Baby faces are all sitting tall. And Samoa Joe gets the mic. And he's like, you know what? Some things are just predetermined and true. Moxley, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to choke you out. And while looking at Swerve, and I love this about Joe, I'm going to take back my AEW World Championship. It's like, yes. Because, like, I think that's one of the things that, I was not going to say infuriate us, but it's kind of frustrating. Is when babyface come together and we like, forget the past. Forget what we did 2 years ago. We're all friends now. It's like, no. I'm glad that we're all standing tall, but let's be very clear. Swerve is the one who beat Joe. I still got beef with you. So we're gonna handle that later. But as of right now, we cool. So I love the little callback to my AEW World Championship. I ain't forgot about you, Swerve. So that was all in all a very fun and hilarious segment. What are your thoughts?
You know, which we've got something coming up here, right? Is it all in and all out? There's something coming up here. All in. So, I mean, you know, clearly this feels to me, and maybe you'll disagree, but it feels like they tend to do some sort of an anarchy in the arena, a stadium stampede. They like to do those matches, especially at like an all in. So it feels like we're building to that to a certain extent. You get the AEW good guys against Moxley's Death Riders and the bad guys, which, you know, I guess I'm here for to a certain extent. You know, I feel like AEW is falling into a little bit of a pattern and routine where they do these extremely complex kind of clusterfuckish, for lack of a better word, segments where they have so many people involved and like multiple moving pieces and multiple kind of storylines crushed together. And I feel like they've been doing that a lot more, especially the last year or so. And I think a lot of that has been a result of the Death Riders, because they're a huge faction that's like come along and done a lot of stuff. And they have so many kind of enemies that are disparate. They're not together other than being enemies of the Death Riders, which now they're starting to come together, which is ultimately leading to, like I said, you know, a big group versus the Death Riders of AEW guys. But I feel like there's been a lot of long drawn out segments where it feels like it's an attempt to get all these guys on TV or their main guys on TV. And I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of all of them. They don't always play out great. I thought this one was okay. It got a little long in the tooth for me when Swerve came out. It's like another person's coming out. Like, okay, I understand why he's there. It makes sense storyline wise. It's like another okay, I got to take a deep breath and get ready again to hear what he's got to say. And, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, but it is what it is. And in a vacuum, it's ultimately fine. And I understand what they're building to. So, or at least what I think they're building to. So, which, if they do Anarchy in the Arena or whatever they end up doing with these, AEW good guys versus the Death Riders, I'm sure it will be fine. I mean, everyone involved, is the best of the best wrestlers. And so, it's going to be good. It just, these huge segments, I don't know, they're starting to wear a little bit on me.
No. I totally agree with you. It feels, we are Double or Nothing. And that does mean Anarchy in the Arena or Stadium Stampede, unfortunately. And SP3 said this, and it's like, I totally agree. We're getting near, if you're not already there, Hell in a Cell territory, where Hell in a Cell event is coming up. Let's have a Hell in a Cell match. And Anarchy in the Arena is too good to be like that. That should be for a blood feud at the right time. It should not be a yearly, May is here, Anarchy in the Arena match. It's like, no, you should set it up where it makes sense and you actually have a feud between two feuding factions. So,
right.
Hopefully, hopefully this works out. But let's not be like Hell in a Cell, and pretty please use this match to the best of its abilities. And the best of its abilities is when you have a good feud. When you have a good feud, not because of Double or Nothing, and we need a group versus group match. I totally agree with that. All right. Next up, we have a backstage segment with the new ROH Television Champion, Nick Wayne. Yay. And so he doesn't have his victory lap, but here comes pump behind, petty behind Christian Cage. And it's like, sir! And so he's like, well, look. So he takes the belt from Nick Wayne. Sir! You're just a petty little man. He's like, well, you should be thanking your father for giving you this opportunity. Thank you for your father about you winning this title. And we had a good old time. Me and Mother Wayne was celebrating all night long. I'm like, sir, listen. Kayfabe wise, you can't be talking about mama real life wise in front of my face like this. This is so much. But Nick Wayne wasn't no punk. So he was like, this is what it looks like when you actually stick with the plan. And it's like, oh, okay, Nick Wayne, man up just a little bit. He tries to take the belt back, but Christian doesn't give it back to him. He says something else. He puts the belt back on. He puts the belt back on Nick Wayne. He's like, he just says, I love my family. And they all leave. So nice little segment. I'm glad to see that they're doing something with Nick Wayne. With Nick Wayne, with Hook, with Yuta. I feel like they get into these groups and we kind of forget that these groups are used to build up the younger stars. So it's happy to see, like, okay, we're actually getting Nick Wayne to a place where he can be on his own, where he's actually a solidified star by himself. So I'm actually glad to see where this goes. And not sure exactly where people keep saying is him and Edge. I'm sorry, Adam Copeland. And I don't oppose to that, but it really is like, how? It really is like because I don't want Christian to turn babyface. I want him to be the dickhead that he is. So I don't know how we get there, but right now I'm enjoying the ride. This is a good little segment for the patriarchy.
Yeah, no, I mean, Christian is great. This has been, for me personally, and I always liked Christian. This is probably my favorite Christian iteration ever as the father. I mean, it's brilliant. Everything he does in this role is great. The stuff with Nick is great. Me and your mom partied all night. It's like, oh, dude, it's like it's like, oh, dude.
Come on, man.
And then later when he leaves, he calls for her by name, Sheila, come on, let's go. And it's like, and then mom got to follow. Like, so no, I mean,
Listen. Anybody go back to Waffle House? We ain't doing that. By any means necessary, we're not going to Waffle House. I agree with that.
The reality is that he's another one of those guys, much like Dominic Mysterio, who right now has the right kind of heel heat.
Yeah.
He's slimy and swarmy, and everybody wants to see him beat up, which is exactly what you should feel. And my guess is that this ultimately results in either the dissolution, probably it's got to be the dissolution of the patriarchy. Nick Wayne and Christian are going to feud at some point soon here, sooner than later. Christian's going to be on his own again, and that's when I think him and Adam end up reuniting to do something, one last thing as Edge and Christian before they go out. But we'll see. I'm here for that. I'm interested to see Nick Wayne. I like seeing Nick Wayne kind of flex a little bit, and I like to see them giving him that storyline. For a long time, I really thought it was going to be Luchasaurus that turned on Christian. Obviously, he's out and injured, and we don't know when he's coming back. Hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully he's recovering fine and all those things. But in lieu of that, no, I'll take Nick Wayne, and they haven't done a whole lot with him, I think, since coming to the main roster. I mean, I understand he's young and he's got to learn, but he's already paid a fair amount of dues, and so I don't know how much learning he necessarily has to do beyond I don't know what. So I'm happy to see that they're decided to finally give him something and push him, and I'm here for him versus Christian and whatever that looks like ultimately. So
totally agree. All right, and so next we have our first official match. We have Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet, and you can't really go wrong with you can't really go wrong with either of these guys. So this was a great match. I love the opening where, of course, the crowd is the crowd. You are bald, and Ricochet comes out. He gets by some dude. I forgot the dude's name, but he's a famous person. And so he's like, "You're bald." They're he's like, why are they hurting you? Why are they bullying you? They're bullying you, Mark. Stop! Make them stop. Like, that was hilarious. Then we get to the match, and like I said, these two are great. I'm so glad that we're getting Mark Briscoe back to a nice stable status, because what they were doing with him and Hurt Syndicate, it was like, what are we? In my brain, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you didn't have to. I don't say bury, but I felt like they buried Mark Briscoe to bring the Hurt Syndicate up, and I'm like, you didn't have to do that. So I'm glad that Mark Briscoe's back on a good footing, right? But this match was great. We had froggy bowls everywhere. We had 450 splashes, and crazy enough, not on my bingo card, Ricochet tries to cheat the win with the foot on the rope. Mark Briscoe counters and holds on to the roll up. 1, 2, 3. Mark Briscoe for the win. Heck, freaking yeah! Like you said, I love that. Listen, I don't think AEW is stacked, so I don't see Mark Briscoe holding any titles as of right now. But I think he should have a prominent standing on the roster, and to do that, you got to win something. So I was not opposed to him beating Ricochet. It was a wonderful surprise. I loved all of it, but Ricochet had to be a butt, and he had to beat up Mark Briscoe, and then he through the ring post, one of the turnbuckles, he got out his freaking gold scissors, about to stab him, but is it Kevin McKnight? I don't want to give him Knight. I keep saying it felt bad. It should be McKnight. I'm sorry, Kevin Knight. No offense, that's so basic. Okay, Kevin Knight for the save before Ricochet can stab Mark Briscoe, and Ricochet went like a little punk. A nice little moment for Kevin Knight. So I loved all of this. What are your thoughts?
I love the match. I thought the match itself in a vacuum was great. I'm happy to see Kevin Knight kind of getting more TV time coming down to help Mark Briscoe. I'm glad to see Briscoe getting to show off that he's a very competent singles wrestler. Storyline wise and putting in AEW and booking, I'm not totally sure I totally understand it. it felt like, or it feels like, they want Ricochet to be kind of a main event guy. And yet at the same time, he takes a loss to Mark Briscoe, who, like you said, we don't even think is probably going to ever hold a title in AEW, let alone be a main event guy. Now, there's nothing wrong in a vacuum with taking a loss to Mark Briscoe. It just feels a little odd in this situation. I just don't know, because it feels like they've been really pushing Ricochet for the last month and a half or so, and now it feels like it's a little bit of a setback. So, and honestly, if you ask me, I thought that Ricochet needs to win more than Mark Briscoe does. Assuming that Mark Briscoe is kind of where he's supposed to be, not a title holder, basically kind of a mid card guy, could step in against a main event guy and still have a solid match and take a decent loss. That kind of guy, then that's then this is fine. But if your idea for Ricochet is that he's going to be a bigger player in your company than that, then it doesn't make sense to be taking a loss to Mark Briscoe here, especially when he tried to cheat to get the win and failed. That being said, this was one of the few times I thought the roll-up worked well. I thought it made sense in the match, and the way Mark Briscoe got the win, I thought was fine. So I don't know. It's interesting to see. Tony's booking is so kind of bizarre to me at times, because it feels AEW in a lot of respects, and wrong, like there's nothing wrong with this. In concept, I kind of like it, but like it feels like basketball has become where it's basically positionless. Where like a lot of guys, there isn't really as much. There's not as much a definitive line between who's mid card, who's bottom card, and who's top card as there has been in the past with wrestling. It feels like AEW has more of a fluid. Guys move back and forth between those areas more than they normally do, in other companies, or and so, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm kind of here for that in concept. I like it. At the same time, I think in some ways it muddies some storylines in kayfabe sometimes, because you end up with situations like this where it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why Mark Briscoe beats a Ricochet storyline wise. Now, athletically, on any given Sunday, anyone can beat anyone, and you're supposed to have that feeling about wrestling because they want you to feel like it's a real competition. So I get that, but it's not, and we know that. We know you're backstage making these decisions. So, like, in that regard, it's just a weird juxtaposition for me. I'm not totally sure how to reconcile all that, but it is what it is.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Face value is like, you do want Ricochet to be a champion sooner or later. So this kind of hurts. I think we're going to talk about it later. This is more so leading toward another feud for Ricochet, and I'm okay with that. So I'm like, so how it ended up and how it ended up later on in the show, that makes more sense. Like, okay, now I get what we're doing. So I'm okay with the finish even more.
Sure.
We get to that later. But so next up, we have another in-ring segment where Tony Schiavone was going to announce FTR, but look who's back and better than ever. Stokely Hathaway says, Tony, I got it from here. Here is AEW's greatest tag team, FTR. Stokely Hathaway is with FTR. Interessante. That was not on my bingo card, but I'm not opposed to it, and we'll see how it goes. So they go to the ring. Tony's still in the ring, but Stokely has some business to address. He's like, as of right now, I am their agent. Let's address the elephant into the room. Last they got fined for accidentally pushing Tony Schiavone. It's like, it wasn't really an accident, it was intentional, but whatever. And so he's like, but around here, people get set on fire, people get put through chairs, people get drugged. It's a assault battery. And what's his name? Charges against Jon Moxley. Can I count the ways? I will. Kidnapping, assault, but FTR gets gets fined for a little accidental altercation. So he's like, so that's why I have stripped it from the record. It's like it's like y'all in school, as it has never happened. Now, Tony Schiavone, do your job. I'm so happy Stokely's back. I'm so happy. Like him being not on TV is a crime. We thought that it was on purpose, but CM said he was on vacation. Like, all right, tell me something. Tell me something, because him not being on TV, I would, that shouldn't happen. So Cash gets on the mic and he does a phenomenal job, because usually out of the two, he's not really the talker, but he did a great job here. And so he's like, listen, he's like, I'm not really sure why y'all don't like me. Like Garcia. We put everyone before us. We put Adam Copeland's dreams before us. We put Gary Garcia's dreams before us. Let's not mix words, Garcia. You came to us for help. So no more. FTR is gonna put FTR first. Okay. And then, all right. So right after Mark Briscoe and Ricochet, they show Rock and Roll Express in the audience. I don't know why it went over my head, but a lot of people were like, "Oh, they're going to get hurt." So fast forward to this segment, Dax freaking pay behind brings in Rock and Roll Express into the ring, and like the wrestling lovers that they are, like, baby, y'all don't know what's coming, or y'all know what's coming, y'all don't care. They get into the ring, and Dax is being a troll. He's like, listen, y'all are a Hall of Fame worthy tag team. What's your greatest feud for the cancer? I know. It was Dax says, against Midnight Express, even though Midnight Express was a better team. It's like, why are y'all in this ring? Why are y'all in this ring? And then he asks another question. He's like, what was the greatest moment? Oh, I know. It's like y'all always want to hog the spotlight, but no more. And of course, they go into beat up this, how are they, 60, 70? This all behind tag team. And they give old boy a freaking pile driver. It's like, what are we doing? Yo, I need y'all to stop. So they beat up Rock and Roll Express. And here comes Undisputed Kingdom for the save. It's all about the boom. So that's definitely going to be their next rivalry. I am not opposed to it. That should be great. NXT Black and Gold all day. So this helped a lot. This did everything it's supposed to do. Great segment. What are your thoughts?
I love Stokely with FTR. I think that's brilliant. Anytime Stokely's on the TV, I'm happy. Dax and Cash are fine talkers. There's nothing wrong with either of them, but Stokely's an amazing talker. So putting them with him definitely helps them a little bit. I'm here for heel FTR. I think it should be fun. I'm here for FTR versus the Paragon. I think it'll be interesting. The comment about Midnight Express being better than the Rock and Roll Express. Definitely Rock and Roll Express got more notoriety and ended up with more, a bigger career in the long run. It's arguable that the Midnight Express might have been better wrestlers. It is what it is when, not everything is up to wrestling. So, I don't know why it was determined that the Rock and Roll Express ended up with a better career ultimately in the long run. But, the two of them to me are very kind of similar. They're both veteran tag teams that paved the way, and laid the foundation for where we're at now.
You didn't have to say it. You're being petty.
I find it really interesting, when the Revival was in WWE, I wasn't overly impressed. I thought they were okay. It was like, they're all right. And they left. And then there was this, they became, FTR, even before they really hit AEW in the full stride. And it was like, oh, this is the best tag team in the world, 7-star FTR, whatever. And I was like, saying it's just a team that was just a Revival, like a glass of milk ago that was like not very good. It was okay, kind of whatever. And so, it felt like weird to me but over the years now, clearly they've proven that they belong in that conversation, and they are one of the better tag teams in the world when they're going right. And I love watching FTR, and they've definitely proven to me that they deserve that kind of, recognition. So, and them versus the Paragon should be exciting. I mean, I'm here for, I love Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. So those guys together, always move the needle for me. And they're three of, in my opinion, probably the best technical wrestlers going. So I'm very interested to see how this match plays out ultimately, and I'm here for it. So
Yeah, what do you call it? Some people are meant to be heels. FTR, they're meant to be heels. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I love Stokely. I would never put them together. So, but I'm here to see how they mesh well with them being together. Side note, I knew that the Undisputed Kingdom had a new name. What's it called?
Paragon.
How do you feel about that?
Paragon. I mean, United Kingdom, I think it flows a little bit easier. I think it's probably a little bit easier for people to understand. Paragon isn't necessarily a word that maybe a lot of people have in their vocabulary. AEW has done this a few times. Pinnacle, Pinnacle and Paragon are basically the same thing. I mean, it's the top of the pile. That's essentially what it is. So,
Right.
and they like to, Tony seems to like to try to use these kind of more different kinds of words for his team names. I'm not sure that Paragon for me, nor is Pinnacle really what I would consider a good name for a faction. I think Undisputed Kingdom is better. I'm not sure I think Undisputed Kingdom is great. To be fair, I don't have any names in my back pocket that I'm like, oh, I could throw out names here that I think are wonderful. I couldn't pick a name either. I couldn't generate a name in my life dependent on it. So I understand. Like, I don't have any answers. I'm just saying, I'm just here to be critical of what they are. So, not be critical, but provide commentary on what I think of them. And I just, I think they could be better. For me, Paragon doesn't really, I understand what it's saying and but it just doesn't hit the way I think they want it to. Oh, maybe I lost. What's going on here? Oh, there she is. I guess we lost one Anika and got in second Anika
I'm
back.
changing. I'm changing. This is about to go dead. I always put this in my lap. All right, here we go. No, yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with all that. All right, so next up, we have the returning Young Bucks in their first match back in AEW. And for some reason, they just wanted to prove to everybody, in case you forgot, we're one of the best tag teams in the freaking world with this freaking match. They go up against Kevin Knight and Steve Ball, Mike Bailey. And this was just them going ham for no good reason. Like this did not, this shouldn't have been this hot. Like this, you didn't have to go this hard. You was being petty with this match. Y'all was being real life petty with this doggone match. So I'm just gonna put in spots, and I'm not sure where they were, but they were just great. So we have the Young Bucks doing a walk-in power bomb while Matt Jackson does a backstabber. So Nick Jackson said, "Who was a super kick party?" We thought he was being a heel, but he meant it. It was a super kick party where basically they super kicked everybody, and then Speedball did his kicks, and then it was him versus Nick. They did a kick up, kick again, and then everybody was on the floor. And it's just like, what's the purpose? Listen, if you're an AEW fan, nobody forgot how good y'all was. Y'all didn't have to go this hard in the freaking paint. And Speedball, and if you love indies or you love TNA, you know how good Speedball is. So that was there was no doubt in our minds. But the pairing of Speedball with Knight is so doggone good. That actually is a good pairing. And I know you don't want to put everybody into a tag team, just so happens, but it has to be said as many times as it needs to be said. AEW is stacked. So as of right now, them being a tag team for just a little bit, not an established one, but just a tag team in necessity, I'm all here for. All in all, at the finish, Knight was in control, but here comes Petty behind Ricochet, getting his freaking lick back. So he grabs Knight's foot and that helps the young buck. That has the Young Bucks get the upper hand. EVP trigger. Young Bucks win this match. This had no on television. Some people are like, I knew like them coming back. I'm like, okay, it will be a 3. This was a 4 for television. And I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure why they went this hard. But hey, who am I? Who am I to turn down a good treat? This was a treat. What are your thoughts?
I loved all this. I mean, I thought they gave them a lot of time to work, which is good. The Young
Yeah.
Bucks are one of the better tag teams on the planet. I think it was a great way to showcase both how good Speedball and Kevin Knight actually are.
Mhm.
For being one of the best tag teams on the planet, I thought they gave a lot of offense and a lot of good spots to Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. The
Yeah.
Bucks, the Bucks seem to me. I don't really have a lot of complaints about the Bucks. They seem to me to be pretty good about taking losses when they need to. They don't seem to be too um, concerned all the time with how they come off,
Greedy.
like a lot of wrestlers are.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, again, I don't know them backstage, but even watching BTE like gives you a little bit more of an understanding sometimes of how these guys are because it's them being, themselves for all intents and purposes. I mean, they're on camera, so you never know, but like it's supposed to be them more uncut in real life. And they seem fairly down to earth. They seem like decent guys, where a lot of it harkens back to the whole Undertaker issue with guys playing video games in the locker. In my day, we had knives in the locker rooms. These guys just sit around and play video games. Well, yeah, which one's fucking better? Like, I'd rather be in a locker room where everyone's happy playing video games than where everyone can't stand each other and everyone's about to fight or get stabbed. Like, so
Never. I don't want to fear for my life.
I mean, I understand that this is a testosterone driven whatever, and that, there's something to be said about tough guys and whatever and all those things. And at the same time, like, I think it's bullshit. So, I mean, the idea that the Bucks are kind of a new generation of wrestlers with their attitudes about some things I really like. I like that they feel like they're not your traditional, just slow guys. So I like that. Omega feels the same way. Xavier Woods feels the same way. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Kingston, but the Tyler Breezes, they're
Be
not your
cool. Yeah.
traditional hardcore, let's go party and rage every night. They're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not like
Right.
the normal douchebag slime ball wrestlers. And I think that it shows in the way the Young Bucks perform and the way that they allow guys to look. They could have very easily, even though, it is whatchamacallit, Kevin Knight and Speedball, and for all intents and purposes, especially Kevin Knight, are both new in some respects to the AEW universe. And if you don't watch,
Yeah.
like you said, Independence or TNA, Speedball might be very new to you too. So the fact that they go 15 minutes, they could have easily come in and got a squash or a showcase for the Bucks. The fact that they gave them 15 minutes and all that just shows you how they feel about wrestling and how much they love it and want to, promote the future when technically they're still young enough for all intents and purposes to still be in their prime. So, I thought it was very good. I think it all works out well. Curious to see what the Bucks do when they're now that they're back long term, but I'm here for it. I hope that this is not that it's been, I wouldn't say ice cold or back burnered, but it feels like the tag team division has been cooled down a little bit. And I'm hoping that maybe
It
this is
has.
kind of the reheating of the tag team division with the Bucks coming back. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with all that. And more so, this is why that's why I didn't mind the whole Mark Briscoe beating Ricochet, because it feels like we're gonna do we're gonna do Ricochet versus Knight. And that is totally fine. Like, I think that'll be really, really good for Kevin Knight's first feud, and I think they will both come out really, really great. So I'm actually here for that. But I echo everything you just said. Yeah, this is fun.
I think Ricochet coming out in a whole, basically causing Knight to lose keeps Kevin Knight and looking very strong. So
Yeah.
they didn't just lose, and to one of the best teams on the planet. So
No,
I think everyone comes out looking good. Except Ricochet, who looks petty. But that's what he's supposed to look like. So another one, he's one of those guys that finally hit his stride, and I think he's in the right heel heat at the moment. The crowd.
Oh yeah.
He's doing a good job of being slimy and hateable, and not yet, to the point where it's like, oh, I really don't like that. But this is
Right.
working. This is working. So
No, this is working on all counts. And what was I gonna say? But yeah, no, I'm here for all of this. I'm here for all of this.
yeah,
Can't see what's coming up. Can't wait to see what's coming up next. So then we have a backstage interview with timeless Tony Storm, and she's like, you know what? I want to go back to Collision. And look, if y'all just want to make Collision the Tony Storm show, I am here for that. That would be a great, as of right now, Collision, it kind of has its footing, kind of doesn't. But if you just want me to get a Tony Storm show, I'm here for that. Just let her be. Just let her be the main event every other week. I am here. I am totally here for that. So she's in the back, and so she's like, I'm going to challenge whatever special person. Oh Lord, I'm going to challenge anyone who wants to come, anyone who wants to face me. And so Renee wants to remind her that next Saturday it will be the 30th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back, and brilliant, timeless Tony Storm faction. There's an empire big enough to strike this back. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So she introduced the open challenge. Queen Aminata comes. She's like, hey, I'll face you. And so we're going to do a championship eliminator match. And Tony Storm says, let's make snub. So Tony Storm versus Queen Aminata on Collision. I'm here for that. That's cool. Any thoughts on this segment?
yeah. I mean, I have a few thoughts. Mostly just about AEW in general. I understand, and there's nothing wrong with faulting. I can't fault Tony Khan in his mindset. I understand the idea of wanting all of your titles to be somewhat equal and on the same level. One to not be, it goes along with this idea that I talked about earlier about kind of having a fluid, not necessarily a definitive main event level or group of guys, and guys kind of float around and do different things. He wants all those titles to be somewhat kind of equal, and he doesn't want one to seem more like it's better than the other, all those things. And in that same regard, I think he really wants Collision to be equal with Dynamite. The problem is it isn't. And the problem is, by putting Tony Storm on Collision, she's not going to be seen. Unfortunately, it just is what it is. I mean, there's not even enough eyes on Dynamite at this point. I mean, I think there are. Don't get me wrong. I say this all the time. For a company that's only been in business now going on 6 years, I think the ratings are fine. When they talk about ratings, though, everyone compares them to WWE, who's been around for 50 years and had the market for 40 years. It's not really a fair comparison. Like, they were the only thing for a long time. So they look really bad, and Collision numbers look even worse. And so, selfishly, because I don't really watch Collision very often, I would miss Tony Storm on Dynamite. And I think it doesn't do. If it really elevated Collision, then I'd be for it, but I don't think it does that, and I think it devalues your women's championship and Tony Storm because she's not going to be seen enough. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's the first part about it. Second part is Tony Storm's in her bag right now. The timeless Tony Storm character is great. Almost everything that comes out of her mouth is gold at the moment. So that's hitting all cylinders. She makes me laugh from the minute she's on to the minute she's off. I'm here for Queen Aminata. I think Queen Aminata versus Tony Storm has a lot of legs. I like Queen Aminata. She's a solid wrestler. I think they can have a very good feud. I don't like the idea that to face the champion for the title, you have to beat the champion first. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Put Aminata in another qualifier match against someone else who deserves a title shot, and the winner of that gets a title shot. But you shouldn't, as a contender, have to beat the champion twice. That's why the reality is you shouldn't probably be beating champion once. That's why they're champion, and you really shouldn't be beating them twice. And if you beat them once, you should get the credit for beating them once, not just another chance to face them for the title next. So those couple things, but those are AEW wrestling things, not necessarily Queen Aminata, Tony Storm things. So in that regard, I'm here for this. I just wish it was done a little bit differently.
I can't disagree with anything you just said. I guess the premise of eliminator match is that you didn't really hype someone up to get a championship match. But like you said, the match to face the champion shouldn't be against the champion. You should have a number of consider match against someone else and just let them win that. But it should be fun. I understand. I'm trying to find what I was going to say. There, good. I understand why Toni Storm isn't on a Dynamite right now because you're having a tournament to face her, so she doesn't need to be on Dynamite right now. But definitely when after Double or Nothing, and we know who she faces, we'll probably see more of matches with her on Dynamite. So as of right now, I think everything is okay with how we're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see her on Dynamite, maybe on commentary for the Owen matches, or giving a little like summary, just because she's so brilliant with this character and her talking, that like a little summary after the Mercedes and Athena match would have been nice. Just a little Tony commentary right after the match, backstage and on Dynamite, something to remind you that Toni Storm is here, she is your champion, and that the winner of this Owen Cup is facing her. Like, not that people have forgotten, but you want to keep that really fresh in their mind. And unfortunately, I don't think enough people watch Collision. So,
unfortunately, I hope they have a plan in place to like they're doing good matches on there to try. But either way, they need a definitive plan.
I think if they moved it to a different night, it would do better. I think really the problem is probably Saturday night at this point. I just think people are doing it Saturday nights. It's not, and I think when you have people like during the work week, when you have people home in the evening, they're home earlier, they got off work, they're tired, all those things, you have a much more audience and a chance to pull people in. On the weekends, especially Saturdays, that's the main weekend day and the main night that people do stuff. So it's hard to keep, and sports are big on those nights too. Like, you got to remember you have the real big three sports that do a lot of stuff on weekends and Saturdays and those kind of things. So I think it's a tough night to compete with. I think personally, if you moved it, I mean, it's hard because you already have WWE on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. So really, I guess the other day you can move it to would be Thursday, and then you have Dynamite and Collision back to back on Wednesday and Thursday, which is probably a little much. It doesn't give enough time to breathe. But and you don't necessarily. I mean, obviously these two companies don't have a problem being in direct competition with each other. But if I'm Tony Khan, I definitely don't want to put Collision up against Raw or SmackDown. I mean, if it was me, it'd have to go up against NXT, and then you're still in the same ballgame because you've got Collision before Dynamite if you do it that way, and 2 nights in a row. And so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you do with it, but I think Saturday's the problem. So I'm not totally sure. Maybe you move. I mean, Dynamite's got its niche though on Wednesdays. Maybe you move Dynamite to heads up with Raw or SmackDown and put Collision on Wednesday. I mean, I think one of the reasons that Collision has been as good as it's been, and people complain about it not being good enough, is not Collision. Dynamite is that it's on Wednesdays when nothing else is on. It's on by itself. It's not in direct competition with WWE on Monday or Friday nights, or even Tuesdays. So it's probably benefited what little bit it has benefited from that. So I don't know, but I think they definitely need to move Collision somewhere. I'd do something with Collision. I'm not sure what, but.
Everything you said makes sense. The only day that's logical to move Collision is Thursday, but then like you said, then you'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it's like, will you be burnt out on wrestling? If not, like we're probably the exception to the rule. Not everybody probably watches every show, so for us, it's a break when it's on Saturdays. But if moving to Thursday might be a choice. But we'll see, because I don't want Collision is definitely still needed. I will say that.
Right.
Collision is definitely still needed. So
they've done everything else.
Yeah. So like I hope
in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Ring of Honor. But no, I hope they can turn the tide for Collision.
Yeah.
All right. So next segment we heard people. We heard people. Hershey the Kid coming out in all their glory. Last week they beat Gates of Agony in a very good match. I love Gates of Agony. I hope they get some more wins. I'm not sure how. With everything you need to be intentional. I hope they're intentional with Gates of Agony because they are good together and they should be more prominent in the tag team picture. into MVP's choice. He said something to that effect on the mic. He said, "Adam, you're good, but you went against the best tag team in the world right now, which is Hurt Syndicate." He gives the mic to Bobby Lashley. Before Bobby Lashley can say anything, we hear a revving of a car. We go backstage. MVP is in his new, I guess, I'm not gonna say rented. Is it rented? I don't know. But MVP drives up, gives the keys to the valet, him a dick because you're a dick, and he comes out to join the party. So MVP was like, hey, last week, I know you had a good time last night. I'm here to get another vote in. Let's do it. So MVP's like, hey, you know how this goes. He gives a thumbs up. Shelton is next. He gives a thumbs up. MVP was like, sorry, MJF was like, oh my God. He's excited. He got the hug. Shelton, he's like, hey. Shelton was like, I didn't say yes because it was a broads. Nice. He said, I said yes because of that man. And so MJF was like, yeah, we all love Montel. I love Montel. We're on the same boat. So we get to Bobby Lashley, the hardest thumbs up of them all. So whether you like him or hate him, MJF does two things great, which is the best things of wrestling, which is he can be goofy and serious, and he was both in this segment. So before Bobby gives his decision, MJF is pleading. He's like, look, we got off on the wrong fault. We got on the wrong foot. It wasn't my fault, but whatever. I will acknowledge my part in it. So I'm going to say two words that are so hurtful to me. And the crowd was so good. The crowd was so good this week. They're chanting, "Say you're sorry." And so if he's like, oh, sorry, MJF was like, "I'm sorry." Yay! And then he gets to the serious part. And so he's like, look. On a serious note, what do you call it? Even though you bring stuff to the table, Bobby Lashley, I bring some stuff to the table that you don't. I know the ins and out of this place. I know where to corner. I know where to cut corners and off. And on commentary, Chad says that's a shoot. It's like, shut up! I can't stand any of you. And he's like, I know where to go to get things done. And if we join together, we can run this place. Not just this place. We can run all of professional wrestling. All right, some things to think about. So Bobby was like, his thumb was in the middle. He's like, where are the keys to the car? And so MJ was like, the car? It's in the back. It's in the back. I don't have them. They're in the back. They're in the valet. But let's go to the back. We'll get them right now. Let's go. So her syndicate goes to the back with MJF. He gives Bobby Lashley the keys. Bobby gets into the car. And so MJF was like, wait, you roll. So he's in the car. It's wrapped up. The thumb is out. He gives a thumbs down and just skirt away. And MJF gets like, what the fuck, bro? And so MVP holds him back. Hey, you're making strides though. You're making strides. So just keep working at it. You're almost there. And so MJF composed himself, just enjoy the car. And so MVP passed him on the back, and they go back into the thing. Hilarious segment. At first I wasn't sure how I feel about all of this, but sometimes you don't need to know destination. Sometimes enjoy the ride, and enjoying this ride was very much so fun. What your thoughts on all of this?
I think MJF to slowly solidify himself as maybe the best talker in wrestling. Basically everything that he does and says comes off great. At the same time, I do think, unfortunately, it has an adverse effect on both Shelton and especially Bobby, because Shelton's a little bit more of a talker, but not much.
Yeah.
And I think it makes them look even worse because they don't. MVP is really the only one that responds in any meaningful way. Bobby doesn't do anything but look stern. You know what I mean? He doesn't, and we need more from Bobby than to just look tough. Shelton tries a little bit here and there, but he's, MJF is so good that when you're limited, unfortunately, it amplifies all of your limitations, unfortunately. And in this situation, I think it magnified both Bobby and Shelton's limitations on the mic, especially Bobby. And that additionally, I understand MJF's perspective. Having the Hurt Syndicate in his corner does a lot for him because he's a guy that likes to have a lot of backup. So I get that.
Yeah.
He's always been like that.
Yeah.
I personally don't really like this storyline. I'm not a big fan of this storyline. I don't like the idea of MJF with the Hurt Syndicate. I don't like the way it's played out particularly. And I don't think it's done a whole lot for either of them. I mean, I think they're supposed to be looking better when this is said and done, and I don't think it's done particularly for either of them. So, for me, I'm ready for this to kind of be done already. Either make a decision or don't, but let's do something. And, if you're going to make a decision to bring them in, then let's do that. If you're not, and it's going to be Bobby versus MJF, let's get to it. I'm ready for something else already. It's only been like 3 weeks and it feels long in the tooth already.
Yeah, I got. So MJF just has a template on stories, and sometimes they can go a little longer than necessary. So I definitely can get that. I think I have an idea of what could be the end of this, and I'm hoping I'm right. Because MVP told MJF, "You got to give them something they want." I real life hope that he gives them Cedric Alexander. I hope that he makes way for Cedric to get to AEW, and that would give Bobby the thumbs up. I'm hoping that's the end game. It feels like they're probably going to do this decision at Double or Nothing, and that's fine. But like you said, you gotta do like Double or Nothing is when in the end of May, so we got 3 more weeks to go, and it's all a matter of getting enough stuff to do on television where it's still entertaining. For me, it's still good, it's still okay. But for MJ, I guess in the mind of people who are MJF aficionados, it's like, so how many times MJF is going to keep not begging, but going to see if Hurt's going to invite them or not? So they got some work to do because, like I said, you got a couple more weeks before Double or Nothing if you're going to do the decision at Double or Nothing. I'm not sure if they are, but I feel like that's what they're going to do it at.
You can't just keep doing the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. Like you got to do so. You've done it now at least 2 weeks in a row. You've got to do something. Yeah. Either don't do something next week. Let it breathe. Take a week off. I understand you want to keep it fresh, especially but take a week off. Let it breathe for a minute and then come back to it. Or you've got to do something totally different. I don't know what that looks like, but you got to do something different. It can't just be the same thing in the ring. Hey, Bob, I'm trying to convince you, and you're going to give me the thumbs down. You all know what you're going to do. At this point, it's starting to feel a little predictable. I thought this segment was predictable in my head, and then it basically played out exactly like I thought it was going to. There wasn't anything in here that I was like, oh, well, that's new and exciting, or that's a swerve in any way, shape, or form. It was I knew as soon as he gave him the keys, Bobby was going to take the car.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about that. So, let's just make it a little less predictable.
No. Yeah, I totally agree. They should definitely do the thumbs down in 2 weeks, and maybe the next 2 segments, like, what can I do to get him to say yes? Like, that'll be a very good change of pace. I would definitely agree with that. So after the commercial break, we have an interview with Hangman and Renee. And Heyman is still in the Owen Hart Cup. He's actually in the semifinals, and he was going to go into full on Hangman crazy mode, talking about how he's going to beat Kyle Fletcher and go into the Owen Hart Cup. But MJF just has to be petty. Hey, you lost your car, so your pride is wounded. So you got to go someplace to boost your ego up. Let's invade the Hangman interview. And they're like, hey, cowboy, hey, I love the new haircut. Makes you look like you met your wife at a family reunion. Sir, just once. I want you to take that the low-hanging fruit. And so, but Hanger, I love Hanger right now. He's like, listen, this is an interview. I'm not sure why you're here. I'm just get in your car and go. Oh, oh, you can't get in your car. I'm like, I'm like, what are we doing here? And they're like, oh, funny Hangman. I got a joke for you. Hanger goes to the Owen Hart Cup and chokes again. And so he's like, and Heyman was like, listen, I'm not even sure. Like, it's like, I don't even get your plan. Like, you're begging her syndicate to take you in, and you're cutting corners just because you can't wrestle. What kind of dumb behind plan is that? And so basically, they're going to tit for tat. And MJF ends it with, listen, it's going to be hilarious when I go through the back door with her syndicate and get my title back before you, and you do like everything, you do like you always do. You get to the finals of the Owen Hart Cup and you choke. And because Hangman cannot have that last word, I got someone you can choke on it. We're not like, hey, bro, calm down. Go back to you. I love these segments with Hangman because he has so many feuds, and he is the main character. There's no question in anyone's mind. Hangman is the main character of AEW. So to be the main character, you have to still have beef with everybody. So I love when they test the temperature of each beef. So this like, okay, is you versus MJF still hot? Yeah, it's still hot. So we can still do this match if need be. All right, we'll see you. We'll see you down the road. But hey, it's still hot. We're good. Any thoughts on this segment?
Like I said, in regards to the last segment, I think MJF slowly, making an argument for maybe being the best talker in wrestling. He's definitely, in my opinion, the best heel in wrestling, no doubt about it. Hangman's fine for me. I mean, I'm not the biggest Hangman fan, but I don't actively dislike him, so it's fine. I mean, I push up a little bit against the whole he's the main character of AEW kind of. I get it, and at the same time, it's just a wrestling company. There's a whole bunch of guys that are there trying to get paid to do their job. Like, for it to be like, oh, it ultimately revolves. There's this nucleus in Tony Khan's mind where AEW is long-term storytelling, that Hangman is the center of everything. I don't know that I believe that or buy that or like it, even if that's true. So I get it that his storyline kind of runs through everything, and at the same time, for me, it almost feels like one of those situations where you have a case where like you do so much, you do a lot of things well, but nothing like great, and it's starting to feel like Hangman Page has a lot of decent feuds and maybe none that are like get him over the hump to be that superstar that they, I think, ultimately really want him to be. And I'm not saying that maybe in some people's eyes he's already there. I don't know, but for me, he's not quite there yet. And but I think this is fine. I mean, the two of these guys have good chemistry. A match, between them, more matches between them over the years, multiple matches between them over the years is definitely, like you said, a recipe and formula for success that they can go back to, and check in on periodically here and there. So, I mean, anytime I get to see MJF talk, I'm happy. So,
yeah, no. I think with that, he has to win the belt. I think the first time he won the belt, the title reign was fine, but it wasn't great. So that's why he's in the main event, but he's not one of the top stars. So next time, I do think he wins the belt again, and when so, they gotta do a better job. They gotta do a better job when next time he gets the title reign. That's so me. All right, next time we have our next match, and it is an Owen Hart Cup-esque pre-match before the semifinals. We have Will Ospreay and my boo, Brody King versus Takeshita and hold up, wait, brain fart. You tell me. I got time for this. Takeshita and who else? Wait. Sorry. Josh, the new member of the Don Callis family, Josh Alexander. So, real quick. Josh Alexander debuts as the wild card last week. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm extremely happy to have Josh Alexander in AEW. I have my own personal feelings about heel Josh Alexander. It's not necessarily something I'm overly familiar with, I haven't really seen him be a heel all that much. I mean, I feel like in TNA, he was basically a face. I mean, maybe there were a couple times where he rode that line a little bit of being, maybe a tweener just with some of his aggressiveness and kind of his stoic personality. Like he's
Yeah.
not overly bubbly, like he's not like a cheery face, like that kind of face, but like in TNA, at least the TNA that I saw, he always kind of ended up on the right side of whatever was going on. So to see him as a heel and join the Don Callis family is what it is. But hey, man, the Don Callis family, you want to talk about being a stacked faction? Like, holy smokes, like
Yeah.
Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher. Now you've got, whatchamacallit, the guy who we were just talking about, who I just completed, Josh Alexander, and the other guys that you have. So, I mean, it is a stacked faction. And I'm excited to see Josh Alexander in AEW. I'm not the biggest Don Callis fan, so I don't, him being put with
Yeah.
them is fine. Him being put with them is what it is. The thing I do like about it is that it shows me that Tony Khan sees him as a big player because they
Yeah.
put him in a huge faction with a lot of other main event guys. And, he's essentially now kind of in a main event picture with main event guys. So in that regard, I'm happy to see that Tony Khan understands who Josh Alexander is. And in that regard is at least using him in that, in that way. So I'm here to let it
No.
play out.
Yep, totally agree. And like I said, you have to catch in Osprey and Brody and Josh Alexander's match. So yeah, the match humped. Surprise, surprise. Please go
No
back and
doubt.
watch it if you have not. It was so freaking good. I just the Keshta versus Osprey forever. Honestly. So last week, like I said, Josh Alexander got beat by Heyman. So he's a new person. He can't get beat twice. So Josh Alexander pins Brody King in this match for his team to win. I get it, but I don't like it. More so because like y'all keep saying, oh, Malachi Black left, so we're gonna unleash the Brody King. I'm impatient about that because I love Brody King and it's been too freaking long. So I want y'all to do more with him now. I'm tired of people coming in and he has to take the sacrificial beat, but I do something with him now. That being said, I get that you don't want Josh to lose twice in his debut, so fine. After match, they beat up Brody King and Osprey because it will be Osprey versus whoever wins against Fletcher and Heyman. So you try you're wounding him for Fletcher because you think he's gonna win. Here comes Heyman for the win, but this was on Collision. If you didn't watch it, Trent Beretta is back and he's still with the family, and Rocky Romero turned and he's with the Don Callis family. Okay. But they beat up Heyman. Like, sure? Sure. Okay, cool. But they beat up Heyman and Osprey. Kyle Fletcher does the final move, and Callis family stand tall. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean the match itself was great. I loved the match. I thought they all looked phenomenal. What can be said about any of these guys really? I mean, Osprey's amazing. Brody King's amazing. Josh Alexander and Takeshita are both amazing. You say you can't have Josh Alexander lose twice. I understand that philosophy, and at the same time, you don't have a problem with Brody King taking multiple losses. So, who's been there putting in the good work for your company for a while? So, I get it, and I don't get it to a certain extent. You're not probably going to have Will Ospreay take a loss here. You're probably not going to have to catch him to take a loss here, or take the pin. So you're looking at Brody King and Josh Alexander, and I get it. Josh Alexander is the new pretty toy. He comes in with a little bit more kind of his name precedes him maybe a little bit more than Brody King does. People think of him maybe as a little bit more of a maybe on a higher level than Brody King, just in professional wrestling in general. So I kind of get it. At the same time, I don't like the treatment of Brody King in that regard. Now, that being said, even though I don't like it, and even though it's not enough and I want it faster, he has been getting more time since Malachi's been gone. It might not be the right time all the time, but it is more time. And at least it's with the right guys. Like, he's in a match with 3 other main event guys, and he looks like he belongs. He proves that he belongs. So in that regard, I'm happy for that. I thought Brody King looked like he deserved to be there. They all looked really good. I liked all that. Um, Callis family getting the win. Like I said, I get it. I don't watch. Well, didn't watch Collision, so I was unaware that Rocky Romero, that Trent was back, and that Rocky,
Yeah.
So them coming out for me was like, hey, I absolutely
Yeah.
love Trent Beretta. And I'm big on Rocky Romero, so I like Roppongi Vice. So them being back, and remember, Trent was going to be a main event guy before he went out. They were pushing him that way. So now he's back and he's here in this picture. So I like that. Fletcher versus Hangman is going to be insane. As far as the finals. So and the winner gets to face Moxley is going to be incredible. So it's going to be crazy. I can't call it between Hangman and Fletcher for the finals there. So the whole thing is going to be but I'm here for that.
Yeah,
I thought this was fun. I thought this was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed all of it.
Yeah, no, this was so good. When it comes to Owen Cup, I don't think we need to run back Osprey versus Cal Fletcher so soon. So I'm hoping that Heyman beats Fletcher.
Yeah.
And All In's in Texas. When All In was in London, they were like, "Oh, you had to have Osprey. Oh, you had to have Hayter. Oh, you had to have Sriracha." Like, no, now it's in Texas. So I need all my Texanians to be in them good matches. So I'm hoping Hangman wins it all. All right. So and then we have our main event, which is a semifinals for the women's Owen Hart Cup. Chris Statlander versus Jamie Hayter. This was a women's
face Mercedes Moné. That's what you get. That's the benefit you get from winning this match. You get to face Mercedes Moné in the finals.
Heck yeah!
I can't call it.
Yeah. Listen, this was a women's house fight, and as of right now, I'm into women's house fighting. I am. I love some big thick chicks. just showing some freaking power and who's not. No, I love flips, but I do sometimes. But sometimes you do. I love a good match where it's like I'm not trick or hook. Who is the dominant chick? I'm beating you down, and when I beat you, it's 1, 2, 3. No unadulteratedness about it. And this what this match was, and I loved it. They start off with feats of strength where they're just basically short tackling each other and just brushing it off. What's your name? Statlander went for a moonsault. Yeah, a moonsault, but Jamie Hayter stepped to the side. But then they got back at it. They got back into the ring, and Jamie Hayter and tried to do a submission move on Statlander, and that was insane. No. Sorry, Statlander did this move on Jamie. They got put together. Sorry. But so Statlander went for a submission move. Jamie Hayter went for a submission move, and then Statlander got up into a electric chair, and then she went to go up top on the ring ropes to do. I'm not sure what she was trying to do. I want to say it was a crossbody, but Jamie Hayter just gets her a clothesline from out of freaking nowhere. And like I said, it ain't gonna be hook or crook. It's who's the dominant female. To make sure that everyone knows that Jamie Hayter does the Haterade 1, 2, 3. Jamie Hayter for the win. How do you feel the match?
I thought it was good. I don't generally think of Jamie Hayter as like a big hoss woman, but like this match came off really well, and she looked like that tonight against Chris Statlander. Like she's not small, and I don't think of her as like a small woman in any way, shape, or form, but just kind of more like on the technical side and less on like this technical side. So I like that she kind of broke what I felt was kind of the Jimmy Hayter mold a little bit and showed what more she could do. And it did look that way. I mean, she looked very strong and tough tonight against a legitimately strong and tough woman in Chris Statlander. So I liked it, and I'm happy that Jamie Hayter got the win. But we've already seen Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, so I don't necessarily need to see it again. So I'm
Yeah.
here for Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. Not to take away anything from anything anywhere. The match between Athena and Mercedes the week before in the semifinals.
Yeah.
For me, to date, it has to be women's match of the year, in my opinion. I understand why you put them on the same side of the bracket. I understand the argument for being too predictable.
Yeah.
I'm afraid
But
that you blew your Owen Hart, women's Owen Hart, whatever, too soon. You had your best match in the semifinals, not the finals. Not that I'm not excited for Mercedes and Jamie, but they got to do a lot to reach what Mercedes and Athena did last week. So in that regard, me personally, I'm skeptical to whether we can get there. Mercedes is great and Jamie's great and Mercedes has great matches. I don't know. Jamie's not Athena. I'm sorry, she's not. So Jamie's great, but she's not Athena. So, and again, I understand the predictability of it, but for me personally, I think it diminishes a little bit of the finals when you have the best match of the tournament in the semifinals or in a prior round. But it is what it is. So that being said, I thought as a main event, the women getting this spot was great. I'm happy to see Jamie Hayter back in the main event spot again. Do I think Chris Statlander is a main eventer? I don't know. In that regard, I'm convinced Jamie is. So in that regard, I think that Jamie got the win. The right person got the win. The problem is, I think Mercedes Moné probably wins. So if Mercedes wins, I'd almost, even though I don't necessarily want to see it or need to see it again, if we already know Mercedes is winning, I'd rather see Chris take the loss than Hayter take the loss. But it is what it is. Like, Jamie and Mercedes is going to be solid. I'm here for that. And we'll see what ends up happening. So the winner gets Tony Storm. So it doesn't get any easier. So
listen. Like I said, I was very mad that we didn't get to do Winner Circle because AEW last week was so freaking good. I agree
that was
totally.
an A+ Dynamite for me, for
It
sure.
was. I agree wholeheartedly about what you said, and I have my reservations. People, some people have hope in AEW more so with the booking and backstage. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. So when like you said, when you give me Athena versus Statlander, and that's at the main event, they're like, oh, we're running back. This is how I look at it. I look at it as, oh, we're going to give you this match because y'all been clamoring for it. And when it's over, it's over. I might be wrong. They might run it back. I hope they do. But as of right now, that's how it feels to me. But moving forward, I do think that Hayter and Mercedes is going to be a good match. Not sure how great it's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be good. I don't know who wins because people are like, oh, it should be, because people have faith in AEW. They're like, oh, it's gonna be Hayter versus Tony, and they're gonna run Athena versus Moné at All In. I'm like, that's fine, but All In is your big show of the year. So in my mind, that should be the two biggest stars, Tony and Mercedes, right? And so, and I love, and it's no slouch to Hayter, but this is your fault, AEW, because when she came back, she's been in these lackluster feuds that make no doggone sense, and she could just, like, you should just put her in the main event, why we pussyfooting around to not have other words. But whoever wins, whatever happens, and I want to say it's next week, right? They're doing the match. They're doing Moné versus Hayter next week, so they'll have a solid 3 weeks to build up whatever feuds they have. So let's say Hayter wins. Let's say you have 3 weeks to hype her up, to get her back to the prominent spot where her versus Tony will be. No. Double or nothing. It's gonna be Mercedes versus Hayter at Double or Nothing. So you'll have 3 weeks to. You have 3 weeks to hype up Hayter, or people are like, "Oh, we want her to win," and hopefully you'll do that.
Hopefully they do that, because right now it's like it really is like, oh, Hater versus Monet. If you're an AEW fan, you probably remember Hater of old and you'll need it. But for people who are 2 years in, you need to re-hype up Hater. You need to re-hype up Hater.
Yeah, and honestly, like I don't know how you do it, but I think Tony Storm needs to come out of the winner of the Owen Hart as still champion. And I don't and so I think the best way to do that is with Jamie Hayden, because Mercedes isn't right now for me. Mercedes kind of has that Will Ospreay feel, which is not that she can't lose. I just don't know how you do it. It's got to be the right way. It's got to be because she doesn't lose. I mean, it's Mercedes, like, and at the same time, you don't want her necessarily. I mean, maybe you do as Tony Khan. Maybe you do want to put have her have all the female singles gold. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not necessarily opposed to that per se. From a Mercedes perspective, it's great. I think she deserves it, all those things. From a wrestling perspective, it's terrible storytelling wise, because then it shrinks everything down, right? It's the reason that Steph gave up the North American title on NXT, because you can't defend every title every week against all kinds. You can't do it. So in that regard, I think you probably have Jamie beat Mercedes somehow. Maybe Athena costs her the match somehow. Billy Stark somehow costs her the match.
Maybe.
And then you have Tony beat Jamie, and still be champion. You still have these two. Because, I mean, not that Jamie can't be champion. Jamie could beat Tony. But I think it's much more 50-50 between Tony and it's the right kind of 50-50 between Tony and Jamie as opposed to Tony and Mercedes, I think, because if Tony beats Mercedes,
This place
there's nothing wrong with losing to the women's world champion. It's Tony Storm, but it's Mercedes, and how does she lose? So losing to Tony is not like the end of the world. How do you do that? In my mind, unfortunately, Mercedes beats Tony Storm 2 out of 3 times, 17 out of 10 times in general. I think she's better than Tony Storm in the ring. And so I think, that she probably gets the nod more often than not. So if she beats Tony, then she has all the belts, which again isn't the end of the world, but it just shrinks down your women's division a lot. So I don't know. I'm torn on this. I'm really torn on what I think should happen here. I'm interested to see it play out, and it's good storytelling. I mean, the fact that I'm thinking about it and interested in it tells you that they've done a good job. So
this is a good Monet, Hater, and Tony. There's no bad way to go out. There's no, like you said, it's a matter of how you write this out where everyone looks good at the end of it. That's the only problem. That's the only problem.
Agreed.
But all right, that was the end of AEW Dynamite. Great show. You get your grade first.
Let's see. Well, last week was an A+, and I know you're not necessarily supposed to compare them. Everything's in a vacuum. It is what it's its own episode. Like, if last week was an A+, then this is probably an A-. I mean, it's an A- B+. It's right there. I think it's in the A category for me. So if it's not a solid A, which it's not A+ because last week, I think it's an A- for me this week. I think it's an A-.
Right. The criteria is simple on Workhorse Wrestling. The butt segment sucked, and crazy enough, on this show, none of the segments sucked. None of the segments sucked. There could be something to say about the first segment, but that was just pure entertainment. That was pure entertainment, where you hate or love it. That was pure fun. The matches rivaled every one of this week's of all shows. You can't deny that on the shows. So A-. Yeah, A-. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we both gave it an A-. I gave NXT a B. You gave NXT a B, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. I gave Raw a C, and you gave Raw a B+. So for you this week, NXT was the one at the lowest. For me, it was Raw, but we both agreed that AEW Dynamite beat out both Raw and NXT this week. So And AEW Dynamite is our, that's right, is our winner this week for Winner's Circle. Unfortunately, good for AEW. More often than not, it
Yeah.
seems to be AEW.
Come on now.
To be fair, NXT is a developmental show, so the fact that it even holds its own is
Yeah.
a great thing. So, without any further ado, we'll get to some house cleaning and then we'll get out of here so that everyone can get on with their day. Join us every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, for the cookout where we all come together and talk about what's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling. Join us on Friday night for Friday Night Fights, where Nika and Sammy Joe, or sometimes Anika by herself last night, um, watch SmackDown starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern in real time and give you their real time opinions and reactions to the show. Then on Saturday mornings, you have Winner's Circle, which you're here with us now. It's usually myself, Anika, and Sammy Joe. We review Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, and pick a graded show, and the show with the highest grade is your winner for that week. I'm not going to put up any other shows because at the moment they're kind of all up in the air. But I will put this up with the QR code. If you want to scan the QR code, or please scan the QR code, that'll take you to Linktree. And from Linktree, you can get to all of our social media from one place. You can see up here on the screen, we're on all of these social media platforms. So please come check us out, interact with us on all there. We appreciate you guys. We love interacting with you everywhere we can. So come check us out there. And last but not least, if you want to listen to the Cookout podcast, there was not one this Tuesday. Life be life, and it just happens that we didn't get it together this Tuesday, but we will be back next Tuesday. But in general, you can always listen to prior versions of the Cookout podcast on audio version without the video on these podcast platforms. So if you want to check us out when you're out running your errands, or you don't have time to just sit in front of the computer and watch, or the TV and watch, you can just listen to our beautiful voices drone on in your ears about wrestling. So I think without further ado, we will, as Dolores likes to say, cut out the lights and say peace.
Bye.